Hello everybody, we are live tonight. Today is the 21st, Thursday the 21st of September 2017. We have a really great spectrum of people on the panel tonight in areas. We have Yudit we have Wilson from Canada, we have Santos Bonacci from Australia. My feed's going, and that's really bad because I keep doing that, don't I? And I've got to turn my feed off. We have Ceres from Holland. We have Levena from Hawaii. My computer's playing up, isn't it? I can't get to the page. And we have Aaron from America. Turn it off. I'm going to turn this off like this. I'll have to do it this way for now. Got rid of it. Right, yes, so we've come back today to talk to Aaron because he's got his project on the go. But first of all, I don't know if anybody's seen paper out yesterday. So Ceres, do you just want to play it? We'll get it done. Dun, 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 everybody. Oh my goodness. They told me that they would let me know about, the fact they'd let me see it before they put it on, and they didn't. And I hate the pictures of me. But I would have said that they didn't really lie, okay, about what I said. So, dun, dun, dun. The world is flat. Brit Mama 4 fighting to expose the lie that the earth is round. The lie that the earth is round. Da, da, da. He wanted me to look like that. But, okay, that's the best picture of me. But there you go. Oliver Krieshok. He was quite a nice guy when he came out. And there's Ceres' work there, and there's me holding a globe. Karen Michelle 54 passionately thinks that the conventional belief that the world is a globe is a lie spread by NASA and government to control people. Yeah, I am a domestic cleaner, by the way, guys. The domestic cleaner, a mother of four, spends up to 15 hours a day spreading the truth. As a flat earth campaigner on her online blog, well, it's actually a YouTube channel and Facebook, but, basically they haven't dished me on my words so far that I can see. Karen of Thatcher in Berkshire said, I feel I've got a mission now. My mission is to help the world to realise we're in a flat spiritual realm. That's true. I hate that picture of me. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, people are waking up to realise the world is flat. It's starting. People are meeting in public places like a community. This time last year, you might have found one or two groups meeting up. Myth busted carries a glass wood to demonstrate a belief that the world is flat. This year, you find groups meeting up all the time in the UK. For some reason, it's really kicked off here. Karen believes the world is flat and is surrounded by a large expanse of water to the north and Antarctica to the south. She claims that the stars are only 15 miles up. They start 15 miles up. Whatever you can get in a P900 camera can only see 25 miles away. And if it's a focus in the P900 camera, it tells you roughly where they are. We've never been to space. Gravity doesn't exist. The Earth is at the centre of the universe. NASA and the world's governments have known this in the 60s, but choose to lie to people to stop them exploring further, she says. The long-standing conspiracy theories become a flat earther 18 months ago after having a bet with her mate she could debunk her concept. Expose the lie, Karen shows her boyfriend, whose beard is an antenna that works to catch the truth. Whoa, but after watching videos online, she was instantly convinced the world is flat. Since then, she's created Sun and Moon, a Facebook group, a YouTube group, which has more than 2,000 members and more are flocking there every day. Her videos gain that 10,000s of views each. She is constantly inundated with messages from fellow flat earthers and people wanting to learn about it. Look, I look crazy. She said they are lying about going to space. They could have told us the truth when we were flat then in the 60s. They are lying to avert us away from the truth. Anyway, we'll just move away from that crazy picture. She claims the stars are 50 miles away. Anyway, we flat earthers are doing doing this for all the world to set people free. When the Daily Star visited Karen this week, she demonstrated 2 experiments to prove the world is flat and gravity doesn't exist. In one, she spins the wet towel above her head. She claims that gravity existed, the water wouldn't come out. In another, she placed a cup of water and proved that the fact that it's at level proved the world was flat. She also claimed that if we were traveling at 67,000 miles an hour, you would notice it. Why, when you go outside, sometimes is there no wind? How can that happen if you're traveling Mach 80, 270,000 miles, she said. There you go, guys. We're in print in the newspaper. Hello, Ceres, in the newspaper in the Daily Star. Oh my goodness, guys. It is there. Just doing this to put out just before I'm going to play this on the Hangout. But I'm a bit embarrassed. They could have picked some nicer pictures of me. Oh my goodness. Anyway, there you go, guys. In print.
So the movement is about freedom. I'm really happy that Santos Bonacci is here because it was actually about 4 years ago, maybe more, that I first started, doing all this. It was mostly just curiosity. And the first time I seen Santos speak, I think I didn't realize that he'd been speaking online for a long time. He's been making videos for a long time. I thought it was fairly recent, and that was 4 years ago. But the things that he said really hit hard with me because I'm Roman Catholic. I was raised Roman Catholic. I come from Newfoundland, which is the oldest city. The oldest city, Neo City. More than 500 years, Newfoundland has been here. And if you walk around Newfoundland, you see all the churches. The Masonic temples have been here since the 1700s. No fights of this disease that we call the ideal society. But when I hear people mention, oh yeah, well, we're fighting for freedom, my initial thought, and I think Santos could agree with this, is what are you talking about? As soon as you enter into a society, you are already entering into a contract, whether that contract be written or implied, then you are in fact going along with guidelines of what the society needs as a whole. So, just like the ideal of Roman behavior, the ideal of freedom is what's something cute? Kung Fu Panda, the little green vial with the magic Kung Fu move in it that would make you the master of all Kung Fu, but they open it and it's empty. That's what freedom is. It's that empty vial. Everybody's talking about it. What we should be talking about is the ideal of freedom of our abilities, what we're able to do. Aaron was talking about the crypto cash. I've just given into the fact that every time I talk about currency and every time I talk about freedoms and stuff like that, people are oblivious to what it is I'm talking about. I'm not saying that these things aren't needed and that we might need a new system. What I'm saying is that the system that we're going by, it has a control behind it that, like with the monetary system, it's not a real thing. I tell people, if you want to think of your business as being successful, you have to think of money like chicken feed, and all your employees are like chickens. Now, you don't eat the chicken feed, but you give it to your employees. You give it to all your chickens, and they produce things for you that you need. Eggs, down feathers from chicks for products, or meat, however you want to look at it. And that's society in a whole. I mean, that's the simplest way that you can put it. And that is exactly what all that means. And the money I don't know why people want to eat that chicken feet so bad. It doesn't look very appetizing. And I know how necessary it is. I have two children. I'm going to school and doing the things that I'm doing now to make my persona, my person, look really, really qualified. So I'm going to do all this work that's utter nonsense. Well, not utter nonsense, but there is constructive guidelines. But I mean, most of it's utter nonsense, and contractual behavior, and to create this persona that says that I'm a professional something, make more money and give that to my kids and be like, here you go, like enjoy it, have fun. Don't let don't let the crap that's crowding you right now and dragging you down too much. But there's no way of being in society without actually, conforming to its rules, no matter what it is that anyone says. That is what it is. The language we speak. I've brought this up on many different occasions. The language that we speak is far removed from reality. One time, words were spoken with intent. I was learning Paleo Hebrew. I didn't even know I was learning Paleo Hebrew. I was actually researching German and Old English so that I can read my Bible better. And I happened across some of this older language because Santos Bonacci mentioned the Phoenicians many years ago and these trade routes and commerce. So I started researching. When I started researching, I started coming across like all these switches in language, like in our own language, which is written backwards in the first place, completely backwards. It's a bunch of nonsense. I know I'm doing it right now. I say this to people all the time. I know I'm doing it right now. I can hear myself doing it right now. It's a bunch of circle talk. It's garbage and nonsense and garble. And we don't speak with intent. So how can we be teaching people?
Wilson, that's a really, really, really lovely talk. But we've got all these people on here, and it kind of is Aaron's night. So
I just wanted to say, my 2 cents. I can't really stick around very long. I'm at Sobeys and I got to go home and do homework real soon.
It is great to see you, Wilson, because you've not been on very much lately because you've got this internet problem. It is really great that you're here. I know you just rang me before and I asked you onto the hangout. But could we just talk to a couple of other people and then because obviously we're a group of people on here. Just hello, Stan. Stan's with us. Stan, hello, Stan.
Hello, all right?
Very loud there, Stan. Hello, Stan. Stan, you're with Santos, Patricia, Ceres, Levena, Aaron, Wilson, Yudit, and me. Do you want to say anything before we carry on? Because obviously it is Aaron's night, but obviously I just wanted the newspaper bit out and then we carry on with Aaron. Yudit, do you want to say anything? Sorry to cut you off, Wilson. Yudit.
Yes, 1 minute, please. Yes, I know. First of all, it's an honor for me to be with you all. Thank you.
Loud, Yudit.
Oh, I said thank you. It's an honor for me to be with you all. And I like to speak about the homeless, especially in
Yudit, we're having a night with Aaron tonight. It's to make comments about the newspaper and then go over to Aaron's.
Yes, it's for Aaron what I want to say because he lives in California, and I travel in California and I see in Chico all the homeless everywhere, and San Clemente, and it was terrible to see the street with all the bottle of alcohol. And I was going to the mayor, speak with them about this from the point of my tourist view. And I leave him a message there, and it was terrible. And I see today Walmart do something about the homeless, and I want to ask Aaron if you know about this. Thank you.
You're muted, Aaron.
Yeah, you said Walmart doing something for the homeless?
Yes, yes.
I hadn't heard about that. That's actually kind of surprising.
Oh, you can see many, many videos in the YouTube about this, the private videos.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess I heard that they were rounding them up, rounding up the homeless and taking them into shelters that were Walmarts that had been converted. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't trust that. I think Walmart is pretty instrumental in a lot of this. I think they've kind of just slipped under our nose, providing all these products at good prices, and really they had a secret agenda. I think, you know, we should be onto that trick, because they do that a lot. Whenever they give us something for free, it's never free, and there's always a price that we're paying. We might just not see it. That's what I think about Walmart, especially with this. You know, they're turning so many of them into the FEMA camps. So yeah, I think Walmart's very questionable, at least, by the very least.
Okay. So just quickly go through the panel, and then we'll start. Then we'll go on to what you've come here to talk about, Aaron. Ceres. Say.
Hey, you were breaking up.
Said, have you got anything to say, Ceres?
About that Walmart spill?
Well, the video, Aaron's work.
Well, Aaron actually showed his stuff still. Yeah, the video. Yeah. It's funny how they actually kind of twist it, but okay. It's at least flat Earth in the public, you know.
Yay, at least it's flat Earth in public.
Yeah, and that Walmart stuff, I just posted a link in the chat about the program, what is actually happening in the background, and yeah, it's kind of sick stuff there. But okay.
Patricia.
Yeah. I like the news story, but the Star has got a bad reputation. But like Ceres says, just getting the word out there, whether they think you're crazy or not, it doesn't really matter. That's not the main goal. The main goal is to let people know that there is a lot of other people that believe the Earth is flat, and that's all we can do. We can plant the seed. That's about it.
Patricia. Stan, I'm coming to you, Santos and Levena. Stan?
Oh, you know, I think about the Walmart and everything. I've shown you all the videos, and yeah, that's definitely crazy what's going on out there. But that's a whole nother hangout, that is.
Yeah, well, we've come here tonight. Aaron's got an idea about how to change things for the world, but we'll get around to that one in a minute. Anyway, nice to see you, San. I love that video last week, that 360-degree camera video. I love it. And the music, everything was perfect. So thanks, Stan.
Nice one, cheers. Thanks for sharing it as well.
Oh, it's a pleasure, my darling. Santos, we'll get to Santos next.
Hey guys.
Hello, Santos.
How are you?
Santos. Hope everybody on the panel is, and you as well, Santos.
Great. Well, it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to what our brother has to say now. So I missed Aaron last week, and due to unforeseen things and the usual kind of things getting in the way. But anyway, I'm here now and looking forward to it. Thanks for inviting me.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, Santos. You know how I feel about you. Oh, I love Santos.
Thank you very much, sister.
You know I do, though, don't you, Santos?
I do.
Anyway, Levena. Levena has a slightly crackly microphone, but your turn, Levena, before we get to Aaron.
No, I'm just here to be a part of this. You know, me and Aaron have been talking about some of the initiatives behind this project, and you know, it's really big stuff, but you know, it is doable if people come together and collaborate and put our heads together, and you know, that we can actually create a system that is outside of the current you know, enslaving system that we've been a part of, and it's just going to take like one step at a time. But yeah, so you know, take it away, Aaron. It's all yours.
Okay, over to you, Aaron.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on here, and thanks for being here. I am also excited about this. I've been working on these things for most of my life, and this is, I feel, finally the time where people are really ready to receive them. You know, I think it's been a uphill battle for most of my life because people weren't really at the point where we were ready to make a change, or we acknowledged that we needed to make a change. And I think it's becoming painfully obvious now that something needs to happen, and we need to do something to change this game so that we don't all lose, which I don't think that's going to happen. I'm a very optimistic person. I believe very much in the results of right action. As we take the right action, we will get the right results, and we will manifest whatever we put our vision into. That seems to be individually true for all of us, but I also see that as a collective. Any group that comes together and starts forming a collective vision can manifest that vision. That's how the world works. That's how our reality works. And so this is essentially what I'm doing here. Is I'm setting up certain images to use as vision, and I'm also building and learning how to build a lot of the tools that we could use to take these steps and implement these visions. So I would say the most important part that I have to present here is my very, very deep knowing and feeling that we are spiritual beings that have come here to this earth realm in order to grow, in order to learn, in order to awaken ourselves. And we're also here, many of us, I believe, many in this group and the flat earth community in general, are here specifically to help everyone else. We're here to awaken the collective. And I see with that sort of our divine duty, where, you know, we can't get too lost in the materialism or even the kind of the self, as far as, you know, our familial life and just striving for that comfortable living circumstance where now we can just, you know, sit back and live out our lives. I think we came here to be very active. I think we came here to stand up for what's right for all humanity, not just ourselves or our own little group, but we are here for the whole, for the collective. And so that is what I am sharing today, is an invitation to join this team that will commit themselves to this endeavor of awakening, of transforming. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are less than desirable. They're painful to watch. It's painful to see so many of our brothers and sisters caught in their own cage, and then we're all caught in a certain kind of cage. And of course, they can never cage our minds, but they can cage our bodies, and that's what they've done. They've done that through deception, because intrinsically, as spiritual beings, we all know that the soul, the spirit, is good and wants good for everyone else. And so what's happened here is we allowed ourselves to have free will, and this free will makes it so that we can make whatever decisions we want. Whether we perceive them as good or bad, we can still make them. And you know, you can have your beliefs with karma and all kinds of other beliefs associated with morality and doing what's right or wrong. But the reality is that we have free will, and while you're in this plane or in this realm, you can get away with murder. You can get away with lying to everybody. Yeah, maybe these people will have to sort of be responsible for their choices in the grand scheme of things. But while we're all still here, we are the ones suffering at the choices of these few that have made the choice to have power over others, essentially. And I do believe that this comes from a very long lineage of secret societies and agendas. And so it's a massive predicament, in that, you know, it seems like almost impossible to stop. It seems like it's just such a huge problem that we are almost powerless against it. But the reality is that we are not powerless. We are absolutely powerful, and we are the ones with the power that can stop it. And we all need to realize that, and we need to really stand up within that confidence and that courage that we can stand up to this brute force that has been bullying us for centuries or eons, and we can say no. We can say, you're not allowed to do that to us. We are free, sovereign beings, and we are entitled to, just like all other life is entitled to, this realm. And there's not one specific person or family that has an ownership over anyone else. And I think that's definitely my drive. That's where everything I'm doing comes from. And that's what I want to instill in people, and hopefully inspire people to really feel and perceive within themselves, as this power that we all have that is intrinsic to our being. Even if we didn't have this body, we would still have this power. And that's what we really need to tap into and grow in our awareness of it and our confidence in it, so that we can stand up to these forces that have been trying to hide this from us. Because I would assert that this is the main thing they've been hiding from us. The earth being flat is secondary to the reality that we are divine sovereign beings that are infinite in our potential power. And if we even started tapping into that, then, you know, they're gone. And they know that, and which is why they're doing everything they can. They're poisoning us, they're killing us, they're feeding us fear constantly, so that we do not step into our power. You know, they have been doing this for probably hundreds of years overall. I think it very actively started in the early 1900s, where they created the central banks, and they started various lies. I think the globe deception actually started in the early 1900s, as far as a major campaign to really indoctrinate the masses. I'm sure it started before then, but they really amped it up around that time. And I also think that the animals being equal to us, which is, I would say, a divine truth that we can all observe if we are honest with ourselves here in this plane. Although what has happened is they have used that against us, and they have they've created this fabrication that we're all meant to eat the flesh of animals. And because of this, I believe this is one of the biggest reasons why we have become dense in our energies as a collective, incapable, for the most part, of receiving this insight and higher wisdom that is present within all of us all the time. But this, essentially, the undivine act of killing an animal and taking its life force against its will, even torturing it, is, there's a lot of karmic repercussions with that, and we really need to.
Can I say something, Aaron?
Sure.
Aaron, we've had artists, right? He's been researching loads of newspaper articles that we were still going for flat Earth, even in the 60s, 70s, even up to 1995. 1995, there was magazines, articles, all sorts of things out talking about flat Earth. And it just seems that in the 1900s, we had electric cars, electric vans, and I think that maybe this is why they caused some of the wars.
Yeah.
So that they could then have space, then do all these other things.
Absolutely.
And it's only in the last maybe 60 years they've done something.
Right, and it's possible, it's probable that all these wars and even the last few hundred years have been for similar reasons, and that they're always trying to distract us. Or, if they put a nation under such duress that all the people of the nation are really doing is just trying to survive, then we're kind of incapable of really standing up.
You've gone blank. You've gone blank, Aaron. I don't know why your screen is black.
Oh, let me see.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you anymore, but your screen's blank, and I presented you, and it's still blank.
I don't know, have my camera turned off maybe? No? Turn the camera on. Okay. All right, am I back? Okay. Good to be back. Yeah, so definitely there. Well,
Aaron.
What?
How you put that was really nice. When you were speaking just a minute ago, it was really nice.
Yeah, they have these common strategies that they always use. And I'd say that this distraction is probably their primary strategy. If they can just get us all to look at something else, and then meanwhile they're up to something, and usually we don't know what it is until it's too late, and they've already done it. They've already passed their bill. They've already implemented their Federal Reserve. I think, wasn't that around World War I that they implemented the Federal Reserve? And of course, we all know that they're behind both sides. They're funding both sides of every war. And I do believe that everyone, again, intuitively, instinctually knows that war is never a solution. It's not right. No one feels good about killing another or taking the life of another. And so why are we at war? If there's a problem in a country where it's a dictatorship that's out of control, well, then there's obviously, we have mechanisms and means that we could go in there without a whole armada, having all of these soldiers risking their lives. And we can use peaceful, non-lethal means even to take down dictators and return, and I mean, I'm saying this all, it's kind of like, yeah, we all know this. We all know this could be done. But there's obvious reasons why it's not being done. and that's because it's all corrupt. And so what I'm bringing up here is a few techniques that I believe can be solutions. They're solutions to these problems. Now, in order for these to actually be solutions, what's really required is that we all agree. Just like with the monetary system, you know, the only reason it works, the only reason the US dollar or the euro has any value is because everyone agrees that it has value. It has no intrinsic value. Pieces of paper, even just digits in a computer, have no intrinsic value. And so that value comes completely from the value that we give it. And there's no reason why we couldn't just choose to put value into something else. And that's a great idea in theory. However, you know, how do we implement that? How would we get everyone on board? And that's part of what I'm doing here, is setting up ways for us all to implement alternatives that would solve a lot of these problems. Everything has to start out in the beginning. We have to crawl before we can walk. And so that's why, you know, I'm introducing these ideas right now to you guys. And I was actually just on Iron Realm Media last week, and I'm going to probably be back on there again talking about a lot of these same sorts of things. I'm really trying to connect, especially the main groups that are, you know, flat Earth groups, because I see, because I see that we are some of the most awakened individuals on this plane. We are very willing to think for ourselves, to challenge the mainstream narrative, and that's what's really needed here, because we all know that the deception goes deep, the rabbit hole goes very deep, and I've been studying this thing for, I've been studying all this stuff for decades now, and you know, it's been very depressing at times. It's been very challenging to sort of become aware of the situation, but it's been necessary, and I've gotten to a point where I can kind of look at it with an objectivity and a non-attachment, where, you know, I feel the pain of humanity, but I'm not getting lost in it, and therefore I'm able to chart a course that will get us out of it. And this is the solution. This is really the solution. And it's actually, I want to emphasize how easy this is, because I know that a lot of you are probably thinking in your minds, oh, this is such a massive endeavor, you know, to go against the central banks, to go against the status quo and the current totalitarian systems. And it seems like it's this huge endeavor, but here's the thing, is they are the minority. The ones who have been perpetuating those plans are the minority by far. The majority are the people who want good for the world. And because of that, it's easy. Because of that, all we need to do is create a central conduit that can go straight to the top. And when I say straight to the top, I mean straight to our divine source, our divine connection. You know, this is not religious. This is not, I'm not quoting any scriptures or any holy works. This is all confirmed by all of those holy works and scriptures. But really what it is through my own meditation, my own practice of yoga and divine union, I have come to the realization that we are that divine being, and we are each that. And it's kind of a dichotomy, it's kind of confusing, but it is the reality. And we will all, if we haven't discovered this for ourselves yet, we will all come to discover this one day. And this is the power that we have. And we don't have to sit by as these divine beings and watch pain and suffering go on. And so this is why we implement the solutions together, because this is what spiritually aligned individuals do, is they work together. This is why we collaborate, and we use our creative force to create these solutions, because the creative force is the highest expression of self. And so by us tapping into our own creative force, by us coming together to collaborate, like in this setting, we are expressing that divinity. We are creating this vision now. As I'm talking, you're all seeing images in your mind. And hopefully you're seeing beautiful images of a wonderful future, because that's what I'm seeing, and that's why I want us all to really just be holding in our minds all the time. Because this is the fundamental solution, I believe, is really, it's not technology, it's not an external technology, although there are plenty of these, and I'll talk about these. It's internal. It is our own mind and our own ability to direct our mind. So the mind is this this moldable manifester. Whatever we think will trickle through the layers, the levels, the planes, and come into this physical realm as manifest. This is how, this is the secret. But it's also what a lot of these elite, you know, the real evildoers, but yeah, this is what they've been using. This is the technology they've been using. They've been using it very effectively to hypnotize an entire society. And the only reason that we are hypnotized is because we fell for it. And we allowed ourselves to enter the trance state and start getting lost in perhaps materialism or pursuits of material goals. And here we are. Here we find ourselves now in this situation. Whereas all we really need to do is start creating the mental images of what we want. And we start doing that together. And we start really expanding this group, expanding the number of people that are on this train, and we really be open and welcoming to all ideas, because here's the thing, is we don't know anything. We are completely in the dark right now as far as what is going on in this realm, in this reality, and we've been all trying to piece together. We've discerned that the earth, in fact, is flat and motionless. We've discerned that that our government is corrupt, and that the monetary system is both illusory and also very corrupt. And so we've discerned these things, but then we wonder, like, what's reality? And the only way to really discover that is through the internal journey. By going within, we can come to the understanding of what this existence is. We can come to the realization of what my purpose is here in this reality. And so,
Aaron,
yes.
Aaron, can I just say something? So I think most people are pretty much on board with all of this stuff that you're talking about, and you know, it is a matter of us coming together. But I think one of the things that we are going to need is a platform somewhere where we can assemble leadership and without, you know, being targeted, because, you know, like the entire internet is just totally controlled by the powers that be. That makes it difficult. So get off track or anything, but I just thought I would throw that out there, you know, like I think one of the main initiatives might be trying to create a place where we can network over the internet, you know, I guess using like a blockchain or open source type social media network is, you know, so I think that's something that we need to talk about, because, you know, once we start getting into talking about these to basically overthrow the government, you know, we're getting into territory that I think a lot of people might be afraid to even, you know, be a part of because of the repercussions from such a thing. So figure out a way where we can, you know, assemble like in a safe place, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do know what you mean. I agree. Um, you know, right now we're doing what we need to do. Like we're using Google Hangouts to have this hangout because it's what we have available. There are alternatives, however, nothing is like as established as we would need it to be right now. So that's absolutely one of the initiatives, is for us to develop our own social network, our own platform that will be utilizing some of these decentralized blockchain technologies in order to be corruption proof, censorship proof, and stay that way for all eternity. And this is possible. This is possible with these technologies. And but I would also say that that fear that I know many are feeling when I talk about these ideas of us going up against this big bad government. I know it's a fearful thing, like, and the reason why is because we've been trained for it to be a fearful thing. It doesn't need to be, and that's why I'm really trying to emphasize how easy this is. There's more of the so-called government that wants this very transition than that doesn't want it. And because of that fact, we can use them. We can appeal to them, and we don't have to go through the current government's system of changing the government. We can instead create alternatives and create a collective that will act as the authority. Because right now what's happening is we've got all of these divine beings, billions of them, that are just giving their authority away to these governments. And the reason these governments have the power is because we're giving it away. And I know it's not an seemingly easy thing to do, to just give it up. But this is what needs to be done. And not until this is done will we really make change. It'll be very slow until we really stand up together and say, hey, we're not going to be bullied anymore. We're not going to let these people who obviously don't have our best interests in mind, who obviously do not care about our livelihood or even our lives, why should we give them the authority? We don't have to. We're choosing to do it all the time, and so what we need to do is stop choosing to. And I know it's easier said than done, but you're going to have to maybe trust me on this one when I say that it really is easy. We just, fear is imaginary. Fear is not a real thing, and so therefore we can absolutely just look at that fear and just laugh at it, and it just goes away. It doesn't have to hang on. We don't have to, carry it around with us for every moment of every day and be in fear that on Saturday the world's going to end, or that we're going to be attacked by aliens or hit by a meteor. None of that does any good. All it does is really it's priming the pump for disaster to occur, which is exactly what they want, which is exactly why we've been seeing so much stuff on these prophecies coming true and all these, asteroids and whatnot hitting the earth, is because that fear will manifest exactly what we don't want to manifest. And that's part of the magic, the black magic that they have been using against us. They've been pumping us full of these images of fear, of all these things that could go wrong. And so we might as well just live our lives in a constant state of stress, anxiety, and fear that all of our worst nightmares are about to happen. And that's what they're pumping into us. And really, the remedy is simple. We just stop feeding that.
Sorry, Ceres, what did you say?
Also suppressed with the medication to actually deal with the stress, making you completely incapable to actually do anything at all?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, they have all these strategies, and I'd almost say that the big pharma is a form of distraction, because what are they really distracting us from is our own pure, clear mind that we would all have access to if we learned how to just tune into it and direct it. Because most people, I would say, are kind of lost in their own thoughts. Their world is based on what their thoughts are. And so if they, they're all day long, all they're doing, especially if they never take a moment throughout the day to just be calm and sit with their own silence, then their mind is constantly filled with thoughts, and they could be constructive or destructive, but for the most part, if you're unconscious, they're going to be destructive, and then you're going to be fearing all these things, and then those things will happen, and then you'll be really angry and you'll be upset as why did these things happen, and that anger and upset will actually attract even more of those things that you don't want to have happen. And I know this because I spent years in this cycle where I was creating all of these horrible scenarios that were almost ridiculous how bad they were. And I realized how powerful my mind was from that, because I was manifesting those experiences for myself. And so what we as a collective can do, we can make the choice to each individually work on our own minds, becoming more aware of all of our thoughts, trying to spend more time in that stillness where we're just listening to our own thoughts, or just listening to the stillness, most importantly. And then we can bring that to our collective work and efforts where we are really joining forces with our powerful, powerful minds, creating collective images that are what we want. So let me give you an example of this. On Saturday, September 23rd, there will be some stars in certain positions in the sky, and planets and whatnot, and there is a astrotheological component to that. But really what's going to happen is that we are going to have a moment of realization, of self-realization. We're going to wake up for a brief moment. We're going to realize that we're all one, we're all connected. And the amount of people being conscious of this it'll vary. Some people will be more conscious of it, some people won't be conscious of it at all. And this is what I'm projecting into our future. Now, do I know exactly that this is going to happen? Of course not. This is what I feel is going to happen, and I'm also speaking it on through this channel as a vision that I'm creating for us all to hold, that this is what's going to happen, is we're going to have a wake up. We're going to have a moment of greater awareness of self than we've ever had before, as each individuals, as a collective. And let's just hold that. If something does happen on Saturday, doesn't matter, because we put so much energy into holding that vision that it very much downplayed the energy of whatever might happen. But nothing's going to happen, and I don't even want to put any more energy into this negativity of like even nothing's going to happen, because no, what is going to happen is we're going to have a moment of awakening. And that's what we hold, and we all hold this, and everyone who is here now and everyone who is watching this hold that vision, and not just till Saturday, but all the way through until we're done with this, until we have realized a utopian Earth realm. We're not done holding that vision of what we want to see. It is important that we're aware of what's going on. And so we're aware of the atrocities and crimes of NASA and the various federal organizations, and we need to be aware of that, and we need to form sort of bodies of evidence to make a presentation to the all-powerful people that are truly ruling this world, which is us. But we don't need to get lost in the negativity or the fear. These are just a bunch of hooligans. They're not these all divine, powerful, demonic beings that they have the ability to manifest hurricanes with their mind. No, they stole the technology, they've hidden the technology, and now they're using it to not even like create hurricanes. They're just creating little storms, little tornadoes or twisters that then through our collective mindset, we are amplifying these little storms and turning them into these massive epidemic hurricanes. And I even wonder if hurricane is really a thing, or if that's just really the name. You know, it's a cyclone, a tornado that happens over water. That's what it is. The idea of a hurricane was probably just put there to invoke fear, and that fear is their primary weapon. They're using that fear to really direct us, just like sheep. They are, you know, in this way, they are hurting the sheep, but it's like a wolf coming into the sheep den. You know, we're all going to run away from the wolf because we're all scared of the wolf. So what needs to happen is the shepherds need to really come out, scare off the wolf, because guess what? The wolf is actually more scared of us than we are of it. See? And that's the reality of this world, is that the ones pulling the strings, the hooligans, you know, they are afraid of us. They're afraid of this conversation right now. They're afraid of all these conversations that have been happening because they know this is leading closer and closer to their demise. Not necessarily in their life, but of their rule, of their power over others, because the moment that the collective or the collective reaches a critical mass of awakening, they're done. They will be overturned immediately that moment. Because here's the reality: is time is an illusion. And so, you know, to think that, oh, it's going to take all this time for us to make this change, no. Like, we could literally, if we could just make a shout out to all 7 billion people and say, hey, let's do this right now. You know, it's 4 o'clock Pacific time. Let's do this. We could do it. You know, so it's not a matter of, oh, there's all these steps that have to happen, and it would have to take all this time. Now, having said that, I do think it's going to take time, because I'm practical as well. I don't just think that we're going to make this massive shift overnight and everything's going to be different in a single moment. Now, I do believe it's possible, and I do believe we'll come to a point in time where that will happen. But I also am pragmatic, and I see that for this to really work effectively, we need to define the steps. We need to start taking the first step. And that's what this is in my mind, by presenting my vision of Project Lumen, projecting light into this world. These are light-based technologies. And so I would say that blockchain is a light-based technology, and meaning that it's, now you could use it for evil, I suppose, and I'm sure people have already been trying. But it's much more difficult because of the nature of it. Just like open source technology is also a light-based technology. It's counteracting a lot of these technologies that have been in place and keeping us enslaved for so long, such as the centralized banks. That was a technology. You know, money was a technology at one point in time, and it still is. But at one time, you know, all they did was barter, and no one would observe or recognize like a gold coin as something more valuable than, you know, something from their garden. But now then came along the introduction of the idea of money, and this has probably gone, you know, as cyclically through this whole kind of process a few times, where there was the rise of the idea of money, and then you have the rise of the deceivers, the ones who are willing to take the power over others. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start lying. Like I heard that probably one of the first times that the deceivers started deceiving was when back when they, you know, started taking your gold, putting it into a bank, and then giving you an IOU. Well, they started putting holes or something into the scales to rig the scales. So you come in there and, oh, well, it says you have this amount, but really you had more, but they were lying. And so that's one of the first examples of where we were deceived. And I'm sure it's been, a whole host of additional scams and things that they've done along the way to try to make us believe that that this is the only way it can work, is if we have the centralized banking systems, and if we have to put our trust into the treasury of our nation. When, okay, let's see here, nation, borders, imaginary, trust, well, maybe at one point, if I knew the banker personally, I could maybe have more of a trust, but still, I don't know if I ever trusted a banker. And so, all of these things are illusory. All these things are imaginary. We're not really working with anything tangible. And then I've been getting a lot of flack lately, especially in the flat Earth community. There's a lot of people who think that Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies are like the mark of the beast, or the New World Order is trying to use it as their cashless society, and I absolutely would like to dispel those myths right here now, that the New World Order hates cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, which is why they've put out so much disinformation about it, because they see it as the greatest threat to their power, next to the internet.
That's the whole essence of the decentralized currency, that it's stealable. It's yours, and it will be yours until you give it away.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, what Ceres is saying is that this is decentralized. So all the central banks are centralized. These kinds of currencies are decentralized, meaning that there is no one person that has, or organization that has, the central authority to look into your account and make changes on your account with or without your permission. You're the only one that can really do anything in relation to your Bitcoin account, for example. However, you can't just do anything to it. You have to actually you have to have money, you have to have Bitcoin to be able to put in there or take out. And so in that way, it's a trustless system. We don't have to trust anyone or anything, but we do have to trust Bitcoin that it works. And the way we do that is because it's an open source project. And I'll explain a little bit what that is. So there's open source, and then there's proprietary. And so a great example of proprietary would be Google, or let's say a Microsoft Windows, where they create code where they know the inner workings of it, the actual code itself, and then they encrypt that code. They make it all jumbled to the point where now no one can just come along and basically steal that code or use it in their own project. Well, that's proprietary code, and it's actually very similar to centralized, because the only one that can make a change to Microsoft Windows is Microsoft. The only one that can make a similar thing to Microsoft Windows is really Microsoft, because they are the ones with the code. Now, open source is beautiful. It's where basically the code is, right now it's on the internet. It's public domain. It's out there for anyone to see, anyone to download. If you just want to copy it, it's called forking it, where you're just cloning this project, and now you have your own version. And if the sky's the limit, you can do whatever you want with it. And if you want to try to publish that, and then say that, here, I made my own version of this, the only requirement is that it continues to be open source. And that way, you couldn't take an open source project and make it proprietary. And so this is a powerful, powerful tool that I'm sure everyone will start hearing a lot more about. And if you're a developer, a software developer, if you worked in the technology realm, you probably have some basic awareness of this. But this is really how our society needs to function, is utilizing these kinds of methodologies with decentralization, open source, sustainability, meaning that this is going to be sustainable into the future generations. It can't just be like, oh, it works for me now, so that's good enough. No, it's got to be technology that is always going to be corrupt-proof. It's not going to allow for that corruption, and it's going to do that ad infinitum, forever. It's going to continue to be a tool that we can use that will allow us to not have to blindly trust anyone. Because at this point we can't. We've seen from history that, fundamentally we can't just trust authority. And so what we need to do is we need to trust ourselves, and we need to work together to the point where now we've created an entity or an organization that is part of the public domain. It's owned by the public, but it is also a collective of certain individuals that the public has decided are sort of worthy and trustworthy enough to at least help direct the ship. And that would be in certain details about like specific activities, endeavors that we go on, what initiatives do we exactly do, and how do we do that, and who's involved. And there'll often be kind of managers or leaders of various initiatives that will be then passing on, various tasks to to whoever it's appropriate for, whoever has the skills. And in this way, it's a very voluntary system where we are voluntarily performing the tasks. We're voluntarily becoming a part of this organization. We're voluntarily voting on various things. And the leaders are all voluntary. And then if someone does something that violates that trust, then they are no longer a suitable leader. And we need to, rather than, 4 years, okay, so we have to wait 4 years before we get rid of that leader. No, we do it as soon as they violate the trust. And we have enough people that are in this circle, let's call it a circle, that would have actual checks and balances in place. It's not just these three branches that don't really effectively keep each other in check anymore. But instead, by having an equally round circle of people that are now all on the same level, we keep each other in check. We keep each other honest. We keep each other trustworthy, and we identify anything that seems fishy. And this is how we can run Project Lumen, but this is how we can run everything as well. And so this is a viable, and this is what I would say is really the essence of the decentralized autonomous organization, which is called the DAO, which I love that name, which was built originally for Ether or Ethereum, which is a great project, and it's a great example of it is a centralized company, technically, although they're doing a lot of the work based on this decentralized organization. And they were actually sort of the ones that came up with this idea, and they're doing a lot of kind of movements in this way where they're trying to revolutionize blockchain, what we can do with it. They're even attaching it to precious metals, and so all these people that are saying, oh, we should buy gold and silver instead of cryptocurrency. Well, you can have both. You can have cryptocurrency that is actually tethered to gold and silver in a way that now is sort of like it has more of an intrinsic value that we can all agree on. And Ethereum, well, I think it's totally ironic that Ether's just popped up, and that's like the whole issue with flat Earth, is that it all revolved around this supposed Ether, right? And in the late 1800s, everyone knew there was an Ether, and when they went to measure it, as well as the movement of the Earth through it, they discovered that the Earth wasn't moving, and instead of admit that, they started making up these lies like, okay, well, that just proves that ether doesn't exist. And, you know, it's been this kind of ongoing thing where now in modern science, it's sort of this idea that the ether is just an old-fashioned idea. But I can see it personally, so I know it exists. And so I think it's apropos that ether is one of the biggest blockchain cryptocurrencies, and it's really one of the things that, you know, Bitcoin's been around for like 8 years now. And I think Ethereum just came into the scene about 2 or 3 years ago. And so I think it's really spiked people's interest in cryptocurrencies, and so we're seeing this massive boom in cryptocurrencies. And just to give you a real basic understanding of how these two projects are different. So there's Bitcoin and there's blockchain, or there's Bitcoin and there's Ethereum. Ethereum is a framework that enables people to build their own cryptocurrencies or blockchain solutions quite easily. It's sort of abstracted some things, and so rather than having to start from scratch or even just cloning the Bitcoin project and trying to make your own, this is a way where really anyone, even if you don't know how to code, it's really not that hard to get in there and start learning about the technology. And so therefore we've been seeing a lot more projects come to the market. I think there's at least 1,300 different cryptocurrencies right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if 1,000 of those are Ethereum based. And then blockchain is, I'm sorry, I can't say that. Bitcoin is more of like purely a currency, a store of value. So with Bitcoin, you can trade Bitcoin and you can store it. And this is the same with Ether. So you can trade Ether and you can store Ether. But Ethereum also has this additional framework, whereas Bitcoin just is this currency. Now, Bitcoin was the first currency, and so that's why it's worth, you know, almost $4,000 now, whereas Ethereum came along later, and there also can be a lot more Ethereum or Ether total, whereas Bitcoin has a limited number of 21 million. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin in circulation, meaning that that's why the price is going up as the popularity goes up, and it's become more valuable than an ounce of gold, and it will continue to go up because of that fact. As more and more people come into Bitcoin, then we're just seeing this massive growth in volume. And so I don't get too lost into the cryptocurrency. So I guess, does anyone have any questions? Did I cover that well enough?
Could I just say, Aaron, that David James has joined us on the Hangout as well. So we're a full Hangout tonight to come and listen to you. But does anybody have any questions for Aaron? I'm sorry, Dave, you just come in. Santos, Stan, Big Eye, Anna, Ceres, Yudit.
Well, I'm seeing this this one question in the chat here, and I've been getting this a lot too. Actually, you know, people are. I guess this is a little different, but so there's the one issue of like, oh, what if we lose our power? Or, you know, the internet shut down, and if that happens on the worldwide scale, then we've got a lot of problems. But it is good to know that blockchain technology in general works in a way that even if we were to lose the internet throughout the entire world and lose you know, power or whatever, the blockchain would be there when we come back. So everything that we had would still be there. It does require the internet and all this. And so that's one issue that I've heard come up a lot. So I just want to, kind of dispel that. And then there's another question here about the right to create our own wealth. They didn't want us creating our own wealth in the first place. That's why they're trying to start imposing regulation on cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. They actually, I think until, gosh, what was it? Maybe the 50s or somewhere around there. There was a period in time in the U.S. where it was actually illegal to have gold. And so it required some initiatives to remove that law so that we could actually own our own gold. And that required something. However, cryptocurrencies, good luck. They can't do it. They can't regulate it, really. They will never be able to. The only way they would be able to control it is by shutting down the internet, the centralized internet. However, a lot of these technologies as well have been working on that problem. They've also been working on the decentralization of our power grids. And so, this is just coming to the reign is coming to an end. This is a solution that's going to work. They hate it, but they know it. And that's why just recently, this last week, the CEO of JP Morgan goes on public television, or maybe he just made a public statement where he said that Bitcoin is a fraud. And it caused everyone to freak out. The price plummeted, I think, like 20%. And this does happen. And this is the war that we're in. But then you know what happened that evening when it dropped to its low, or maybe the next day when it dropped to its low? Guess who bought the most out of all the banks? JP Morgan. They bought the most Bitcoin. They bought it at the dip. They manipulated the market. They manipulated the masses to get them all scared and afraid that Bitcoin wasn't a viable technology. And fortunately, we still had all the people that were holding it because they believe in it. And that's the real strength that Bitcoin has, is that because it's worth so much money right now, that just shows us how much people believe in it. That shows us the value that people are putting into it. If you're willing to buy a single Bitcoin for $4,000 and then just hold on to it, and then even if that price drops down to $3,000, you're still going to hold on to it because you believe in it. And it's not about the instant gratification of having this money to be able to buy things, but it's about the altruistic image and having the integrity and the vision to create a better future for ourselves. That's why people are buying Bitcoin and holding it. And I would say the majority of people are sitting on it in that way. And then many of them have become so wealthy that they're actually now able to take action and do initiatives based on that wealth. But of course, even more so now, they're even that much more committed to holding on to Bitcoin and sticking it out whatever happens. And so it's it's good to see that like things can happen. Even like there was all this stuff and there's all this regulation happening in China right now, where they actually literally outlawed the exchanges in China. And they're getting really strict. Really phase the masses as much this time because it's like the boy who cried wolf. We've heard this all before, and it keeps on happening. They keep on trying to do things and trying to regulate and so I observe that this situation is changing in that people are growing in confidence that we have the solution already, and it's just a matter of time before it becomes the full-blown solution. And if we really look back at the stock market crash of 1929, I believe, that was a prime example of where there was market manipulation. I believe it was Rockefeller who created all this fear, all this doubt, uncertainty about the markets, and then The stock prices plummeted, and when it did, he bought everything, and that was how he came into such great power. And because so many had sold out everything because of their fear, they thought, oh, it's dropping to zero, which it never happens, by the way. But that's what they feared. So they thought they're going to lose all their money. So they sold out at horrible prices, and that created a mass depression, not just for the U.S. but for the world in many ways. And so we could see how they play these games, they manipulate the markets, and we've suffered for it in the past. But now we can observe that we're getting smarter as a collective. We're seeing their games, and we're not falling for them. Not close to as much as we used to. And they're upset about that because that would have been their only way to turn this around for themselves. If they could own even half the Bitcoin, then they could potentially hack it. But they would never will be able to, because there's so many people that would not sell their Bitcoin. And so I think what we're really witnessing here is a shift, whether we as researchers or flat earthers or whatever we call ourselves want to accept cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as a new or a good idea or whatever. It already is. It already is in the main. It's becoming the biggest new thing, and it's gonna just pick up speed. It'll be $10,000 per Bitcoin before we know it. It'll be $1 million per Bitcoin before we know it. And so think about that. Do that math. And I'm not trying to pitch an investment opportunity here, although it is, but more I'm saying, and I guess if I'm going to say that at all, I should say, do not invest anything more than what you can afford to lose, just so everyone knows that key important fact. But really what I'm presenting here is how this is a viable solution for us to start using right now as our medium of exchange, as our tool, because now it's not just a currency. Blockchain is as many technologies that can allow us to create a social network that is completely corrupt-proof, censorship-free, and decentralized. We can create a new science that is based on the gradual discernment of truth based on logic and reason. And so we can bring in all the evidence, we can have discussions, we can figure out our what are our findings from all those discussions and the critical thinking that we're doing. And then we put that into a sort of database of here's all the experiments, here's all the evidence, here's all the information, here's all the discussion. Everything starts going into a database that the truth is starting to be revealed on a very solid, tangible way. That we in general, it's like in our own search for truth, we have to be honest with ourselves about maybe lines of reasoning, whether they really feel true or not, or all right, I saw this over here, and what does that mean in terms of what I previously believed? We usually have to be honest with ourselves when new information presents itself or when we have insights. And this is true, but what's happening is we're each doing that. We're each having to sort of reinvent the wheel and start from scratch with our own discoveries. And so whenever someone comes onto the flat earth, they each have to go through that same process of ridiculing it and then maybe slightly looking into it and then looking into it more and then spending 3 months of not sleeping and doing nothing but looking into it, and then getting to the point where you're kind of bored about talking about it because you just know it's flat, but and I couldn't ever expect, and I wouldn't ever expect anyone to just go straight to the part where they just know it's flat and that's it, because now they haven't done their own research. They haven't gone through the process of opening their own mind, challenging their own self, and then being really fundamentally honest with themselves. And so this is, again, another way to use a trustless system where we don't have to just trust someone is telling us the truth. We can create a system that makes it so it's extracting the truth, and it's doing so based on our collective efforts. And so now when someone starts on this journey, they have somewhere to go, where here's all of the evidence, here's all of the thinking, the lines of reasoning, and they still have to go down that path themselves, but now they have a head start, and it's going to take them much less time to traverse that path. And so these are just a couple examples of what we can do with blockchain technology. But then really I would even like to take it further back to what I was originally talking about our intrinsic divine nature, where we are each a sovereign divine being intrinsically, and will always be. Even if we are not these bodies, we will still be that. And how do we represent that in this realm in a way that we can all agree on? So, if you guessed it, that's right, it's blockchain. Blockchain will allow us to actually protect that sovereign right. It'll allow us to have a system, a solution that can be in place that will then always be in place. This is like stone. We can create something that is like writing this out, this decree, this sort of constitution into stone that will always be valid. And whenever someone has a question, they'll come back and they'll have to just, look at what we wrote into the stone and remember. And I often wonder if this isn't what the Egyptians were doing when they were literally writing their things into stone. They were trying to tell us how to not get lost through these power structures and the corruption of the ego. But then we've misinterpreted it all and probably been fed a lot of disinformation about it, to the point where now we just think that they're ancient aliens and they came along and that's why we see what we see. It's more likely that that imagery was it could have been more enlightened beings coming and saying, yeah, here's what you do. Could have been, but more likely it was that showing that spiritual divine aspect of each of our own selves, and maybe demonstrating what has happened, what has transpired, and what to avoid, the pitfalls that we need to avoid in order to maintain a perpetually free and open society. And so I guess, all right, so this is basically the overall spiel about cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Does anyone have any questions at this point or any ideas?
Oh, there is a lot of information about these TDAs, and TDAs is the Treasurer Direct Account. Everybody's own personal secret account. The point is a bit what I see is what the big guy tells. We can't go too fast into cryptocurrency. Before that, we need to pay off all our debts through this treasury with their own bonds. We just have access to it, but we don't know how, because we don't realize it to begin with. And this is the information we're trying to figure out, how we can actually access our personal account, get rid of all our debts. And from that moment, as we are debtless, we can go over to the cryptocurrency. Because before that, with cryptocurrencies, we don't have a paper what a bank can accept as a currency. So in that way, we need to use their own system against themselves in this way, before we completely go over and keep it fair from that moment on. But in the meanwhile, we can still develop the cryptocurrency, but we have to take care of the debt part before we can actually go over for
Yeah, that's like what I was talking about last night, Aaron. And one of the initiatives should be for people to basically rescind all their contracts with the Corporation of the United States of America using there's a lot of websites and YouTube channels out there that talk about basically using their system to turn your birth certificate into basically it's a bond. And so you can like turn your birth certificate into the United States Treasury and have all debts cleared, through, I guess there's like a process of the UCC1 commercial code registration, something along that line, along those lines. Yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, right, Ceres? Basically being a way to clear all debts and disconnect from those contracts that we have as U.S. citizens. Well, if not for you, I mean, you're not in the United States, but I think for people in the United States, process, but you definitely have to play by their rules, and you have to, file certain paperwork with the system. But I mean, I don't know too much about it, but I've been looking into it recently, and there is options though for that.
Yeah, it's the A4 fee is to discharge from the TDA, and the discharge is especially for the debts. And if you ask me, the state is actually using this on our back without us knowing it, actually faking their own ownership in that sense. And while we are the owners, in a way, lending the money, but then not spending any penny on us. And we have to work in the meanwhile to pay that particular debt while they spend the money, and that's the whole thing here. Nobody realizes it, that they're worth literally billions. So someone who had 3 bonds of 33 million each, well, that's practically $1 billion. And that was on his name. And yeah, I guess there are several million people with so much money on their name. And it's unbelievable how much money that is.
Yeah, your birth certificate is an actual bond, and they trade it on the stock exchange, and it is worth money. And there's people that have actually done that, like where you can turn it in and basically say all debts paid in full with this document, because yeah, it's written on bond paper. Exactly.
It's your signature and the bond paper what makes it actually a negotiable paper. I don't know, but yeah, negotiable asset, because only of the bond paper and your signature, and that's how much worth your own signature is. That's why they always ask for your signature. Not to identify yourself, but to actually give them the power to use it, to cash in on your signature. That's how checks seem to work as well. You make actually money from the check by filling it in, what the amount is, and your signature. That's the promissory note itself. And it's cashable through the one who gets it.
Yeah, basically that's what they did with the national debt or whatever. These countries are in debt to the central banks, and the actual wealth comes from the bonds created through those birth certificates. So the people are actually the commodity behind that debt. And most people don't even understand or realize that they're worth billions of dollars. So that is definitely, I think, one of the things that people really need to look into is using their system to dispel all debts and basically rescind those contracts and say, hey, I'm not a corporate fiction. I'm not this, this entity that you engage in commerce with, because basically that's what it comes down to. But there's so much to learn. It's all about maritime admiralty law, yeah. And I know Santos knows a bunch about that.
I think he can fill in a lot there.
Yeah, maybe Santos can say something now. Santos? Santos? Santos?
Well, until he comes back, I'd like to address that. This TDA thing, like, I know I've seen some things about it.
I'd like to say something to you, Aaron.
Go ahead, Yudit.
Yeah.
Oh, Yudit's going to say.
The idea that you say that power is in our hand, this is a great idea that people doesn't know. They doesn't think about this. And this is powerful. This is creation. And the details will come. It's like the dominoes. Everything will change. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that. And I see that is the case with this TDA thing as well, because, I mean, first of all, there's an example of how, our value has already been millions of dollars, each individual's, and they've known this, and they've been keeping this a secret from us. Meanwhile, yeah, they're probably making all this money off of that. They're probably trading our own certificate in a way, and so again, it comes down to, like, this is actually still an expression of us giving our power to them. If we say that if we're going to pay off our debts first, we're giving them the authority. We're saying that we acknowledge that their money system was ever valid, which we don't do. We are participating in it right now because we have to eat and we have to have shelter and all that. But that doesn't mean that we endorse their system of slavery. And we need to be really standing up within the freedoms and rights that we can right now. Meanwhile, we're preparing for a new alternative that would essentially free us all from debt. Now think of it how, for example, I have Flat Earth coin. I'm willing to give it to anybody who asks for it. I've given out, I don't know, 50 million Flat Earth coin in the last week, and I've got plenty more where that came from. And I'm not saying that Flat Earth coin is the solution or is the alternative currency. But I'm using it as an example to show how easy this is and how this works, where, I have millions of something, right? I actually have billions of these. Now, is someone in debt because of that? No. It's part of how this system works. And that's how real the fiat money is as well. It's not real. It's all imaginary. And debt is even more imaginary. Debt is completely imaginary. There's absolutely no such thing as debt. It's all in the minds of men that are trying to have power over others. And so by not even acknowledging that debt, we are lessening some of their power. And and again, there needs to be a transition. It will take some time. We can't just do this overnight, although we could, but we probably won't. So we need to find these middle steps, which maybe one of the steps is to take care of our own debt individually, and maybe start taking care of some of our national debt. But honestly, I think once we get to that scale of things, I think it becomes very disempowering for us to think that we need to pay off the debt of the United States mafia. You know, that wasn't ours to create. Who amongst us voted that we wanted to spend $600 billion this year on a military budget when Russia is only spending $40 billion? Who amongst us wanted to give NASA $20 billion a year, or to go to the moon, or all these things? You know, this is not a democracy because we're not voting on these things. You know, these are all just these are all decisions that are being made behind closed doors without our permission. And here we are having all these meetings and all these things that we're doing that are expressing that we do not agree with these criminal organizations. We do not endorse them. We do not acknowledge them as federal. And really, I don't even think we should acknowledge federal as federal anymore. I think we should just acknowledge that we're all the human organism that's all together in this. We are all on one plane. We are all together. There's no such thing as a nation or a border. There's no such thing as debt. There's no such thing as fear. All of these are all imaginary, and they've been perpetuated upon us, and we have taken it. We've allowed it to get to the point that it's gotten to. Here we are. What are we going to do about it? I'm proposing some things, but I don't have all the answers. But I'm absolutely willing to. This is my life's purpose, right here. You know, and I don't want to live in a world that is either just, if it's going to be full of this much chaos and corruption, then my life's purpose is to change that fact. You know, if I weren't like that, then I wouldn't be in this world. You know, because ultimately we're meant to live in a beautiful earth realm where we are connected to nature, and we're living in harmony with nature, and we are not destroying it. And I think at this point, you know, she's not gotten rid of us yet, but yeah, she will if we don't really stand up and start doing what's right. So let's see.
Is Santos there now? Santos.
You hear me now?
Hey.
Oh shit! You couldn't hear me before?
No.
Oh my god! Something's freezing up here. I think
fine now, Santos. Go for it now.
Yeah. Great stuff, Aaron. Yeah. Well, their biggest power base is their financial system, fraudulent. It's totally illegal in all the universe to have usury. So the best way to hit them is there, you know, the finance, and exposing them like we are. The globe lie, the financial lie, these are where we have to hit them. You know, we have to keep hitting them there, and they are a parasite. So how do you get rid of parasites? You starve them to death. You give them the food that they don't want, you know, like garlic and oregano and ginger and red hot chili peppers. You make a mixture of things like that, and that's the food they don't want. What they do want, the parasites, is a lot of fluffy starchy bread and pasta and refined sugars, and that's what we're giving them when we use their fiat currency system. We're propping up their, you know, what they feed on. So we have to starve them to death. When we starve them to death, they won't have any more services to render us. We'll be totally self-determined. So that's the good thing about this. It will make us self-determined because we won't have to pay that imaginary debt that they created in the first place with their Federal Reserve System. Someone mentioned Admiralty and maritime law. Well, those are always connected, but they are two different kinds of law and modalities of stealing from us. Maritime is Mary. Mary is the Vatican. Admiralty is the ships of the UK, London. And the military is in DC. So this is a trinity of the Triple Crown. And so what they've done is they've made us debtors to God in the maritime system. Maritime, the harlot who sits on many waters. Well, that's Mary, and it's the maritime law system, because through her waters, she sits on top of all the nations. And Admiralty is making us a debtor in finance, in commerce. So we're debtors, according to them, in two ways. Well, this can easily be dismantled, and we don't have to be subjected to this debt, supposed, assumed, presumed debt that we owe, simply by acknowledging not their saviour, because the Vatican is ecclesiastical and maritime, and Admiralty is financial. So what they're doing is making us debtors to all their created gods, parasites, egregores, demons. It's a demonic system. Anyway, I mean, I could elaborate more on this this maritime delusion and how we can easily get out of it. It's quite simple. It's the name that we need to avoid is the surname. It's a title. So on that side, we can easily, as Aaron said, just ignore that debt. It's not our debt. We have no debts. We are creditors, and we were created that way with dominion over the earth. So I'm glad Aaron was able to explain better than anyone else, really, that I've ever heard about how effective blockchain currency will be to destroy their hold on all our commercial transactions. We should be able to transact and do commerce without any interest and any hidden royalties going to secret societies and secret other organizations that have laid claim to that those transactions. All transactions now are so heavily taxed, and everything you do, and it all goes back to the Roman Curia and the Vatican, and they are at the top, receiving, you know, always their percentage. Their percentage never diminishes because they own and control the system. And this is how these parasites are feeding off us. So they are getting fat, the fat cats, through wars and plundering our trusts, our national trusts. You see, the national system is the true system. It's de jure. The country system is the de facto system. And countries are on paper. Nations are on the land. And we are on the land, and we are free men, and we stand on the land. And our way of reclaiming our right to stand on the land is by not using the surname. It's a title, you know, Mr. Bonacci. Mr. is a title, and the surname is a title. So my full and lawful given Christian name is Santo, no more, no less. And so that's the name that's on the land. That's the living man who lives on the land. Bonacci is a person who lives on a country corporate paper system. And this is how the pimps and pedophiles at the Vatican are drawing away about probably more than 50% of our energy now. It used to be 10, the tithing fraction. Then it went up to 20, then 25, a quarter, then a third, then a half, and now it's just, obviously it's much more than a half. And this is why they're trying to break the backs of people, real people with real names, and not false corporate names, which have only been around for 1,000 years, actually. So that's the the nexus, the financial and the ecclesiastical noose that they have around our neck. We have to break both of those, and this obviously appears to be a financial way to do that. I mean, I don't know of any other ways that that I know how to work. Other people's have worked them. Other people, for instance, accessing the Treasury bond, the true de jure national account that is created through the live born record. That's a record, not a registry. Whereas the birth certificate registry, that's all about the birthing of a person, not the born status of a man or woman. So some people know how to do that. They know how to access their treasury bonds, and they're already paying off all of their expenses because they're clever and they've done their research and they know how to use the system against them. Whereas the financial approach of blockchain currency is definitely their enemy. So we have these beautiful weapons against them, and it's good to see people like Aaron, young, positive, you know, full of zest and energy, not laying down and devising ways to, you know, defeat Goliath. So hats off to you, brother, and I really enjoyed all your information. It's as much as I enjoy making astrotheological presentations and syncretism and astrology and teaching people quite simply and correctly how to understand all these systems so that we can reclaim them. You know, the Satanists, the Jesuits, who have created a worldwide empire of deceit, globalism, etc. You know, they have reclaimed astrology for themselves and given it to the heliocentric astrologers, which I have condemned as liars, deceivers, and frauds. All of them. All of them are a bunch of upside down frauds. They're swine eaters, most of them, and you can see by their physiques. Hence, every picture you see of an astrologer, you see a demented being who is totally practicing demonic alcoholism, gluttony. These are things that astrologers never were. So I enjoy bringing to the world how to be a proper astrologer, how to be a proper philosopher, how to practice the ways of truth and walk on that path and stand up against demonism and all of these putrid, demented, demonic theories like evolution and gravity. All Jesuits, all of these guys, Darwin, they're all Jesuit families because they all come from these papal bloodlines who are deceiving mankind. So I love being, you know, a voice standing up and shouting from the rooftops against the demons. You know, they all know my name. They know what I'm doing. And, you know, I have the backing and support of great angelic and archangelic entities all the way back to Source Creator because I'm connected to Source Creator. So I don't need to fear these parasites and imbeciles. The writings on the wall, Mene Mene Tekel Parson, their kingdom has been weighed in the scales and measured and found to be wanting. So they will be destroyed. They are the unfaithful and not discreet slave who are not administering the meat at the proper time. And the Lord, when he returns, which is Christ consciousness, will absolutely obliterate them with light. So our sun now is emanating a new DNA code, emanating, radiating, and vibrating, which is thinking, feeling, and willing. And so we are getting transformed, and they are getting smashed and obliterated by the light. They can't. It's like the man behind the curtain. They've got no more tricks. So this is why the earthquakes and weather wars are going on. This is demonic. You can rest assured. So anyway, without going on and on and on, we all know this. I'm preaching to the converted here and the ones who are already on the path. But so just to give a bit more support and wind to the sails of Aaron's beautiful presentation. Hand it over.
Well, thank you very much, Santos.
Thank you, Santos.
Yes. Yes, it is demonic.
It's good to be endorsed by Santos, Aaron.
Yes, yes, very good. Thank you again. Yeah, I mean, it's really good to hear you say these things, Santos, because it's a confirmation, affirmation, of what I've been doing, what I've been feeling, and here I've kind of felt like I was alone, but I knew I wasn't alone. So it's good to have you all with me.
You're not alone, Aaron.
No, I know. I know.
If you're a truther, you'll always be in my company, brother, and you'll always be with the people who are connected to syncretism and my work. You will always be in this group. You'll never, ever. If you do the one thing, stay on the path of truth. Truth is the greatest virtue. It is the greatest principle. From it are born all the other principles, i.e. love, wisdom, power, and all of the virtues that we have. But the first and foremost is truth. Thoth, Hermes, Buddha, Nebo, Mercury. That's the messenger of the God. And he always delivers truth, Thoth, to us. So yeah, bro, stay that way and never depart from the path. The path to everlasting life is cramped and crooked. In other words, it's very hard to walk on. Few are finding it. And the road to everlasting perdition is broad and spacious. And many are walking on that path, man, like a sheep that goes over the cliff, and they all follow. It's the herd mind, So the truth is, we stand apart. Yeah, we get ridiculed. I've been ridiculed from the start. First, I was I was demonized because I was teaching astrotheology and not literalisms. Then I was demonized by the flesh eaters because I insisted that the only path to ascension is vegetarianism. Then I was demonized by people who didn't appreciate my position on sovereignty and true freedom and self-determination. It can't work. Santos is deceiving people. This is ridiculous. It's a good system. Let's stick with it, and so forth. And now, of course, I'm mostly ridiculed for all those things and for my geocentric stationary horizontal plane Earth teachings. So on top of that, now they all sit there in their in their little corner on their soapboxes having a good little chuckle. But guess who gets to laugh last? We do.
Yes, well, it's about time, isn't it? Considering what they're doing with us. I mean, none of us believe that those that the hurricanes were all the truth, that didn't happen naturally, or the earthquakes. And I mean, also we have on the panel tonight we have David James, and he also does his own thing because he believes nearly everything is a hoax, don't you, David?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Everything, everything you read in the press, on the media, it's all a hoax. They all have the same coding. You look into the code. I came on to speak about how YouTube is shutting us all down. Can you hear me? Well, our channel, we had 2 strikes. Anything to do with the Barcelona truck attack, they just got rid of. And we made the one private, and then they gave us 3 strikes. They took the one off, and it was private. And they just took all our channel, all our videos, 500 subscribers gone. And they give us 2 strikes on our backup channel now. Just for harassment and bullying, and all we did was point out the code in these hoax events.
Oh yeah, they're definitely They've been attacking me too. I'm on YouTube, getting strikes, and they're taking my videos down, censoring me on Facebook, threatening to take down my page. I have like 42,000 followers, and anytime I post anything that really hits a nerve with them, they've got me on some kind of list with algorithms reading what I'm, immediately delete my posts, and then threaten to take down my page, and it's really bad. Yeah.
It just endorses you telling the truth, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what they seem to like to do, isn't it? Make it quite difficult for us all, but we keep going.
Well, they want everybody to move to VidMe, don't they? So you got VidMe, you've got all the truth channels on there now, but it's pointless because it hasn't got the audience as YouTube. So all the truth channels are in one place, so they can control them even better.
Well, yes, it's the whole thing about this is to control you. It's to give you a false reality that doesn't exist.
Oh yeah,
It's a set of lies from the beginning. And I was just explaining that artists has done masses of work and looking up, in researching for newspaper articles on flat Earth and how long ago this all happened. In the 1900s, they were taking people to prison or trying to get people to prison for believing we were a globe. So it's not hundreds and hundreds of years ago this changed. Aaron's correct. This has all happened maybe 50, 60 years ago. Artists, I put a little video out because he found last night that, there were many magazines and articles in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s still talking about flat Earth. NASA did it, didn't they, in the 60s by pretending to go to space and saying that we were a globe. I think something happened there because we had 2 wars which ruined the infrastructure, ruined everything. We were going rather electric. And it all changed then, I think.
Yeah, I think my theory is that JFK was might have been a good, a light-based individual, ultimately that was playing his part so that he could enact change from the inside. And he started seeing maybe, things that were going on with they probably told him that the Earth was flat. Whole moon landing science against the deceivers in order to, because he figured perhaps that by us actually going to the moon, we would find out. And then they figured that they would never be able to get away with lying about going to the moon with him alive, as well as many of the other things that he was, threatening. I mean, he was threatening he was creating the silver certificate, which was a currency backed by silver that he had actually been printing, and he was basically trying to bring the treasury back to being where they actually print the money. And then that I think also played into the Vietnam War, because we had all the hippie movement. Everyone was opening their minds. I think, we were supposed to realize all this, and we were going to realize all this back in the 60s and 70s. And then the wars, and then kind of just this onslaught of all of this. And then we had the proof, I guess, we had the proof that we're on a spinning ball in '69. And so then that just kind of caused us all to just go back to sleep. And I think even maybe, Hitler was trying to do something similar. He did create his own precious metal-backed currency, and he was doing a lot of exploration at that time. It was around the world. He was exploring Antarctica quite a bit. He obviously knew something. He knew about the model and what was going on. And then lo and behold, especially when he starts freezing the Rothschild bank accounts and creating his own currency, that's all of a sudden now the U.S. is going in there attacking Germany, and then Hitler becomes the most evil man of all time, according to the victors of that war. So I think that's been their. They've noticed whenever someone's kind of has stepped out in the past, they had the potential to reveal all these secrets, they would always take them out or do something with them. And that seems like painfully apparent if we just really look at our history. All the people that have died through assassinations or just randomly, usually it was someone who had a very strong creative spirit that was open-minded, and maybe they knew something, or maybe they were just afraid that they would know something, or they would say something. I found it amazing, like this, you know, with Katy Perry just recently. She has her live stream she's doing, just 20, you know, around the clock she's doing this, and someone says in her chat that the Earth is flat. So she says it on her show or on her live stream. She says the Earth is flat, or she says the Earth is flat, and then the very next day, guess who's knocking on her door but Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so then, you know, he tries to convince her, and whatever that technique or strategy was. But then just like 2 days later, she's on stage, and she passes out. And she utters this crazy, almost like brainwashed stuff, and then she just collapses on the stage. And I think it was no coincidence. You know, they are very tightly controlling this. They're controlling people that do make it to the spotlight. And why do you think that, you know, everyone in Hollywood and the music industry, they to the devil? Well, that's because that's pretty much their only option to become famous. Because if you're not willing to do that, then they're not going to let you to the top of their mountain, because you stand too much of a risk to them of exposing their lies. So they'll just continue to and what they'll do is they'll put you in a compromising situation where you're, you know, at an orgy or doing whatever to whoever, and then they'll photograph it, they'll video it, and now they have the best blackmail they need to get you to do whatever you need to do, they want you to do. And I think there's a lot of people that have, a lot of victims in the creative arts, especially the film, television, and music, who have become victims of this. And then if they don't get any dirt on you, then they will very actively sort of assault you, your credibility and your image and everything, until you pretty much just give up, and either take your own life or just, you know, head out of the country and just disappear. You know, I think it's so apparent that this is how they operate. You know, that we should expect it, and we should expect that they're not going to change their way of how they operate, which is why we need to change our ways. We need to create alternatives, that even in these realms where, because the thing is, the creatives of this world are the most powerful. They're the ones tapped into the greatest source energy. And so we need to be fostering that. And we need to be giving alternatives to people so they don't have to sell their soul, so they don't have to do something incriminating just to get into that spotlight. And so they won't do something for the sake of the popularity, but they'll stay committed to their original creative integrity and vision. And so I see that as a part of this as well, as us creating non-corrupt, you know, film studios and productions, and giving people at least one place where they can come to and they can know that they're safe. Because I worked in the music industry. I've done a little bit in the film industry, and I'll tell you what, it's not a pretty sight. It's really bad. Anyone who's had that experience will tell you that you really can't trust anyone, and it's very debaucherous, and they're probably often trying to get you to compromise your integrity. So now they have that dirt on you. Now they'll get you to do whatever they need you to do. And I even think probably Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye are probably even that same boat. I think the reason that they're lying to all the people, and they know it, is because they have such dirt on them that, you know, they don't have a choice because it's better than the alternative for them. You know, I think that happens a lot in science as well. And and that's after they try to bribe them, and if that doesn't work, you know, it's quite a game they're playing.
Yeah,
but it's important. Go ahead.
They're just actors masquerading as scientists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, it really is a game. It's a game for them. And it seems like it's life and death, which it technically is. But, you know, they want us to fear it because fundamentally they want us to fear death. You know, that's their biggest tool, weapon against us, is that we all fear death, when really we should not fear death. Death is not something to be feared. And when death comes to one of us, that means it was our time. And, you know, we should certainly prevent it as much as possible, but we should not fear it. And so when we do that, when we make that transition within our own mind and our own heart, we definitely liberate ourselves from a lot of their chains, and we're able to stand up like we're doing right now and speak against these forces in ways that I think empowers people. And you know, it's important for us to realize the game aspect of this, so that we can learn the rules, so that we can start using the rules, and we can use the rules against them very effectively, because light is much greater than the shadow. And so all we need to do is affirm that, and it becomes so. And there's no reason to get lost in that the fear of you know, them having so much power already, and so they could do anything. They could take us out. They could you know, snub. If they were going to put an end to the flat Earth movement, trust me, they would have already done it. But they can't, because it's the truth, and the truth is not even just in this physical realm. And so it's just been building up in all of this this momentum on the inner levels, and here it is. We're seeing it manifest, but that's because it's been on its way for so long that, you know, they didn't have it. It's already. We need to do is just show up.
Cool. Sorry, we just lost the very last bit there. It stuck a little bit, Aaron. What was your last sentence? Can you say that again?
Maybe. Let's see. Oh, I was saying that we've already won this war of light versus dark. You know, and so therefore we don't. All we really have to do is show up for it. Become present. Become. You know, this is part of being awake. Is just being able to see that we've already won. You know, this becomes an obvious point. I think as we start really expanding our consciousness to encompass greater aspects of how time works, and how we're moving through and progressing through a manifestation that's already sort of happened at a level that now we're experiencing that manifestation.
Yeah, because even in that stuff that Artist was looking at, there's documents from NASA. They say we're a flat plane. In the 60s, it's saying we're a flat plane.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do to take down NASA? We want a public admission of guilt, that they have been lying to us, and we want reparations. We need to do something. We need to start a petition or something.
I want to go to the moon.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. That's what we want to go to the moon. Otherwise, you guys admit you've been lying to us.
Show me the moon. I want to see the dark side. Because supposedly, according to Buzz Aldrin, there's aliens on there. So we should check those out. Check those guys out that they want. how they fit into this.
Full disclosure. Full disclosure. What are they really up to?
Yeah, I mean, you know, NASA knows so much. I was thinking about this the other day. The moment I think really things started going south, I mean, there's a few moments, but as far as, say, the U.S. government was concerned, was when the stuff, I think in the late 40s, started happening with the Majestic 12 and the, was it Operation Blue Book, where they were starting to figure out what was going on with this UFO phenomenon. And they decided to bring in, I believe it was Rockefeller, the president, I think it was Truman, decided to bring in Rockefeller to help with that. But anyway, what they decided to do was start making things secret, top secret. And that was the end of it all. As soon as they started hiding things from the public, not only did they branch off in this whole direction, like they violated the, you know, they were no longer our authority or our government the moment they did that. Because how could the people possibly trust an institution that it's impossible? And so therefore, you know, because we can now just assume that they're having all kinds of conversations behind closed doors that we're not privy to. And so, you know, this is the mess that has been perpetuated and grown on itself. And so this is really why I think one of the most important things that we do here is we get disclosure of the secrets that have been hidden from us. And as the shadow government, that I don't know if everyone saw this, but just recently there was a whistleblower that just came out and basically a lot of the details about how the shadow government works and the what do you call it, I can't remember, but basically it's, you know, now it's being, the whistle's being blown, and this was from someone who was inside of it at a very high level in the CIA, is basically revealing that it's all corrupt, and that there's really no semblance of like good integral people. You know, not that there's no good people in the government, but the ones who are in charge have no good intentions here. And so, you know, it's imperative that we get that, we push to get that truth revealed, what they have disclosed. What does the earth really look like when you go up as high as you can? Can you go up past the firmament, or is that really a barrier? Is it possible to travel interdimensionally through portals? You know, we've heard all these things, but we don't know because it's all been classified. Major thing, and then on a similar vein, the Vatican. What do they have? They need to, you know, release their ancient secret archives, which is probably from Library of Alexandria, which is probably from ancient Egypt, which is probably, you know, just goes back so far, revealing our true history. That would help us of these troublemakers in the future, which is why they're keeping it a secret, because they don't want us to be able to abolish them. They don't want us to even have that thought. But what they don't understand, or maybe they do, is that by us, I mean, we don't need books, we don't need physical things as evidence, because this is not a physical reality. We can tap into the history without needing to look at the history directly through these, you know, through the physical means. And so they might not. And trying to, our third eyes, our subtle perceptions limited, so that we aren't able to really plug in, connect to the truth directly, and even connect to our sovereign power.
Hello. Aaron, you stuck.
I'm stuck? Keep on getting stuck?
Back now, you're back. Then go for it. Keep going.
Okay. Well, I think I was finishing my thought there, but yeah, we ultimately we need Well, they're trying to prevent us using all these methods with fear and chemtrails and GMO and just all these methodologies, where it's the common thread amongst all that is that it's sort of hiding us from ourselves, keeping us lost in the material world, thinking that everything is a material reality and there's nothing beyond that. Then we lose touch with our inner selves, we lose touch with our intuition, and we start really believing ourselves to be these powerless, physical animals that don't have a purpose or a creator and don't have divinity within us. So we're just weak, and we'll just do whatever they want us to do. And that's what they've been counting on. But what they didn't count on, perhaps, or maybe they did, is that we would wake up and that we would tap into these sources of wisdom directly. And we start revealing it, we start talking about it. I still question whether the flat earth recently came out accidentally or on purpose, because, we know that Obama was talking about it. He kept on bringing it up. And then the military came out with their documentation about how all their simulation software is all based on planar geometries, and there's no sphere geometries equated in any of their simulations. And so that almost makes me think they let it out on purpose to either see how we would respond, or because they are actually trying to disclose. I often think that it's possible that these guys are, some of these cabal leaders are in hell themselves, because they are they're in so much fear of losing their power. They're probably in constant fear of losing their power, and they've had to just do so many things to cover up all these lies. It doesn't feel good to lie, so they're just in constant pain, fear.
Your freedom away, isn't it? They're trying to take your freedom away. They're trying to control us. We're in some kind of communism. We're in some kind of subversion. That's what the television's about.
Right.
Turn off the telly.
They're dismissing it, or they're denying it even. They're denying our true nature, and so they're like they're putting all these things on us just because they don't want to look at it themselves. They don't want to look at the truth, and so they're gonna make sure that no one looks at the truth. And they're gonna do that over hundreds of years. And they're gonna raise their family in the same way. And they're gonna convince their family that they're,
because like all this stuff about nuclear weapons, nuclear technology, all this stuff, we don't need any of it. We never needed any of it. We've had free energy all the time. We could have been doing things so differently. We could have been feeding the world. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's breaking families up this way. Nobody respects each other. It's all about egos, false gods, etc. I could go on and on myself.
And nukes are fakes. They're fake, aren't they? Nukes.
Well, I really hope they are.
I'm sure they are.
Thought of those things.
Well, I often thought before I came on to some of like Eric DeBay's stuff where he started talking about that, I often thought, well, if some crazy person in the last 30, 40 years that if Saddam Hussein was really crazy, or Osama bin Laden, if they were really that crazy, then they would have blown us up. If they actually had real access to nukes, then we would have all been destroyed by now. If nukes were real, we absolutely would have all been destroyed by now, because that's how absurd people are. People are so willing to just take everyone else's lives and disregard. They just care about themselves. Everyone's so selfish, and so I think it's a reasonable assumption that we would have blown ourselves up by now if nukes were actually real.
Well, ballistic missiles can't be real, can they? Because the North Korean one's supposed to go up to that one they were about in the week, 700 kilometers high. So they have to go in the atmosphere and come back down. So they're fake.
Yeah, it's all fake.
It's all fake.
Yeah, the more
Also, I'm not sure about this, but that earthquake that happened the other day in Mexico, we actually have somebody from the group, Robert Kidner, who's actually there, not far off that epicenter. And now they say that 2 earthquakes happened. He said there's something hit them like a boom. It went through their bodies. They all felt it, and everybody was crying afterwards. I know they probably would because of what happened, but I just don't believe that was just an earthquake that hit them. It almost looks like bombs have gone off.
Yeah. Well, you saw the tidal, like the overhead view of the tidal, kind of a tidal wave, or the Earth itself, like a wave moving towards Mexico.
Yeah.
And then I felt one of them. I think I didn't know there was 2, but I've been noticing the last few days over LA, all of these kind of I would call them, they look like acoustic waves in the clouds, which would make sense if it's some sort of HARP technology. And then I've been feeling little tremors, and there was an actual, I guess it was like a 3.5 earthquake just maybe 2 days ago. And I would say it felt similar. It felt like a very sudden, it just all happened at once. I mean, it lasted for maybe 3 or 4 seconds.
Minutes?
Huh?
Oh, they actually lasted for 2 minutes, this earthquake the other day. But listen, very quickly, just Patricia, what did you find out today? Patricia, are you there?
Hello?
What did you find out today?
On the I forgot what to call them, earthquakes.
Yeah, go for it. Just quickly say, because people don't know.
Oh, in the last 200 days, there was about 40 odd earthquakes around the world. And I didn't count how many there was in England, but there was at least 20 in the last 50 days.
In Scotland?
Well, mainly Scotland, yeah, but maybe a bit lower down. I don't know exactly. Oh, one was in Ireland.
Yeah. So they've been happening around here as well.
Yeah, I'm convinced I have a feeling it really is HARP and the Gwen Towers, and like is it Stan? I think he just put up a comment that he's been hearing things like buzzing sound in his ears. I've got all kinds of friends that have been saying the same thing, and I really think that they are up to something with these frequencies, whether it's in an attempt to manipulate the weather or they're purposely trying to create these earthquakes. But I definitely think there is something going on
as well, because FPV found some stuff with these waves going through the water. They were definitely doing it through the water as well, like thousands of miles wide these things were.
Yeah, or have you seen those, there's somewhere where there's these square waves that are supposedly being caused by 2 different wave actions coming from different directions, different angles, and it creates these square waves. But when you look at it from an elevated point of view, it's like it looks like a frequency pattern that you can see in the ocean. Yeah, I mean, once you become aware of that, it's like we see it all over the place, and there's so many people that are being affected. They're having like this ringing in their ears and feelings of confusion and not able to sleep, and it's kind of scary actually. And these Gwen Towers are going up.
You don't really sleep anyway. I know that Santos just said that he likes his 8 hours, but how many of you, well, I don't know, maybe David does, but how many of you get a full night's sleep anymore? Because I don't.
No, I know, right?
I still do. Get about six hours. Not tonight though, no.
Oh, it's just thinking that all this is natural, and it isn't.
Yeah, the natural disasters. Well, I think part of it is also they're trying to perform a self-fulfilling prophecy, because probably a lot of these characters were the same ones that created the some of the Bible manipulations, and even more so with like kind of manipulating the interpretations of a lot of this stuff, to the point where now it's all fear-based. You know, Armageddon is coming. You know, we have the I don't know what's, you know, with the Virgin and the Red Dragon and all of this is supposed to happen. And so they're really, it's like they're playing out this apocalypse scenario. And you know, they have the technology to create fake weather and earthquakes, so they're using that because they want us all to be running around screaming because we're afraid that the world's coming to an end, which again is just their fear tactic. So what we can do is we can sit solidly knowing that they're just a bunch of pranksters trying to make us, you know, believe something that's not true, and instead just rest in the truth that we can hold, that we know, which is that we're all divine sovereign beings. And in the end, even if we all were to be wiped off of this plane, we're still alive, we're still immortal. And so, you know, there's nothing to fear. And so what we should do is really proceed with that, knowing that we are actively creating our wonderful future, and a part of that is going to be the disillusion of these corrupt organizations. But that's not our focus necessarily, because then we're getting lost in that anger and the revenge and all this kind of thing. You know, we don't want that energy. We don't want to be holding that energy in our visions. We want to just be holding the energy that we're creating a better world here by our actions. And we start here now, we start working together, and it will be many steps along the way. And there'll be much adjustment, and we'll have to adapt and respond to things that come up. But all we really need to do is take this first step. Like when we create a new habit, when anyone wants to create a new habit, what's the first thing you have to do? You have to do the thing for the first time, you know, and then you have to repeat that habit. And then you repeat it enough times so that now the habit is more ingrained, and it's actually easier to do it than it is to not do it, right? And this is what we need to do with our minds, in terms of being very attentive and aware of what images that we're holding in our minds and that we're presenting, that we are striving to create for the future. What is our vision for the future? Always needs to be positive. Always needs to be something filled with light, because that's the war that's going on. That's the battle that's occurring, is the light versus dark. And the light has a huge advantage in that it's extremely more powerful, but a massive disadvantage right now, as most people are just holding dark visions in their mind constantly and adding energy to that.
Aaron, to explain a bit more about this in this project and this whole thing for everyone, you've made a little video. Are you going to show this little video, or?
I mean, I made a video, so I'm still working on a video. I've been working on a video to just kind of be an overview and intro to Project Lumen. It's taking a little longer. I'm hoping to have it done by this weekend. So I don't really have a video to show. I have done something that I had put up on YouTube just to show how to get Flat Earth Coin. But I'm also planning on having a lot more stuff here on the projectlumen.org website. That will be this video once I get it done, as well as all these various initiatives. And, you know, I'll be constantly updating that whenever there's more activity on it, or if there's anything to update, you know, and I'll be using that as a central hub for us all to check in, and even communicate. And there'll be a sort of social network aspect to it, but you know, at this point, it's just going to be a static website that's just going to present all this information and allow people to sign up and get involved. You know, it's there's a lot to this vision of mine that I want to share, but I'm also trying to make it short and to the point, and so that's why it's just taking a while. But yeah, I'm gearing up for a good, and I'm really gonna push it out there. I'm actually gonna even put some money into like marketing it, and just to really get it out there, because
I think that you probably need to come back a few more, you know, a couple of more times at least, and come on Sun and Moon and talk about this, because, you know, it takes a few times it just does, doesn't it? It needs to go out and out and out, and, you know, we need to come back a couple of more times, or at least another time to.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think by the next time.
This is the beginning.
What was that?
This is the beginning.
Yes, absolutely. Just the beginning, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So everyone keep that in mind. This isn't a painful drudgery. It's going to be a lot of fun, because we're going to learn how to use our minds to create our reality very actively, and we get to choose what it is we want to create. And so we are going to choose to create a great reality for ourselves. And so we're going to see this unfold, and it's going to just be this amazing, you know, there's going to be all these synchronicities as we find new people, attract new people to these endeavors, and as we grow as individuals, and as we grow as a collective, and as we open our minds and hearts to new groups and individuals, I think this will all just really be a very enjoyable process. And so that's why I'm, you know, I'm in it for life, and I am really excited about it, and I welcome anyone and everyone who wants to also be a part of this to just reach out to me and tell me what you have, you know, what you want to offer, any questions. I try to be very responsive. So yeah, let's do this.
As before, Aaron, it's probably a bit much, because we've had loads of people on the panel and the chat room's going mad. What I will do is just re-put the links to your email, to your website, which is, what is it called? Lumen?
Project Lumen.
I think we just put those on the actual description for people to look at.
That'd be great.
When we finish, I will add those to the description.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What, Santos, do you have anything else to say, or Ceres, or Levena, or David? Silence.
Looking forward for the actual development of it. Seeing the people actually making a community, actually communicating, getting to know each other instead of only worrying the unknown. That's gonna be
Go, Levana, you go.
I was just going to say that I'm excited about it too. And yeah, me and Aaron have been talking on the phone and working together on putting together ideas and kind of outlines of, you know, steps to take. And I just will say too that, you know, I've had a lot of people contacting me, giving me their contact information to stay in touch. And I know that people really want this. So it's just a matter of kind of being willing to say, you know, this is what we're going to do and who's coming with me. So anyway, so I'm stoked to be a part of it. And yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, it's kind of like turning our back on the way that it is. We don't have to do, you know, we're doing it peacefully, but it's turning our back. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
That's like one of our greatest powers right now, is that we're choosing where to place our attention. And so if we choose to place our attention on something other than the dollar or euro for value, that's our vote, for example. And we're going to be doing that in a lot of ways, and we're going to be helping to find a lot of ways for people to kind of use their attention in these new ways, whether it's standing up as the the living man and asserting that truth into the world, or if we're going to be working with these creating systems that help people, guide people into those processes of awakening themselves, of freeing themselves. And we're all going to be doing this individually, and we're going to be doing it as a collective. And so it can really gain a lot of momentum quickly. And and that's a vision that I'm holding, is that we're just going to zip along. I see the exponential curve as we just skyrocket to the moon.
Oh. But I think the biggest way we do it is sticking together and being a community. I know in a sense that the flat earth whole thing is about discovering yourself as a human being, and without this big fat ego, but we're only going to get anywhere if we stick together and do this as a community. Absolutely. Come together as friends and talk to each other. A little bit of time to set this whole thing up proper, but you can always come back to Sun and Moon and talk about it, and we carry on.
Absolutely, yeah.
Forward.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very good. Yeah, I fully agree with that last statement, is that I think that's perhaps the most important thing we need to do, is really be willing to connect all these groups that are devoted to truth and exposing things, and all of these groups need to be working together. And so that's part of my mission. And absolutely, I mean, I'd love to come back and absolutely I'll be more prepared with some actionable steps, some things that we can do right now to just even get this community more tightly knit, and probably have some steps and some activity that's already happening.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Even Sun and Moon, we're trying to bring people together, researchers, bigger YouTubers like lovely Santos, etc., etc. It's about coming together one way or another.
Right.
Drama. Start doing it.
No drama, just a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, we have to, because the way they're trying to take us is just terrible. And I mean, like with David, like I've talked to David, like, what, none of it's true? Because I've known this for a while. David will go, no, none of it's true.
The numbers don't lie, I'm afraid.
Not just that, not just you doing like the hoaxes. You've got a P900 camera.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some tomorrow on the weekend in London now. I want to reproduce the Isle of Man one. They did. They put it on their Isle of Man tourist website, and people started asking, how come we can see this picture 65 mile away? So they changed it and put in all the refraction, so that's why you can see it. Because refraction doesn't make hardly any difference. I think my brother works it out, it's 0.06 of an angle. But that's what they use. That's their only defense against lack of curvature.
Anyway, you're someone who doesn't think we're flat.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Proved it in Malaysia, of 74 mile. The island should have been below the horizon. Langkawi.
They probably believe their own lies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is for some people. They are quite frightened, aren't they? When you tell them, and they're shocked and the things they say to you. But maybe it's just none of us are frightened and we just see it. I don't quite know why this big wake up happened. I mean, obviously Santos and Ceres, I know, have been flat earthers maybe longer than some of us. But last year, like the beginning of last year, was a really big wake up.
Yeah, Eric DeBay says it was because of him.
Yes, yes.
I personally think there should be a lot more people out filming, because around the British Isles, you won't find any curvature. There should be loads more people out just do films. They don't. That's the best way to prove the flat Earth. Just have it on video.
Richard's joined us. Richard, you're doing something at the moment, aren't you? Do you think you can tell us? The beer guy.
Hey guys, can I just jump in quickly?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just got the, I felt that pause and I thought, well, I'll jump in real quick. Got to go. Thanks for having me on the beautiful hangout, and count me in 100%. I'm with you and for you and stand with you. Okay, so thanks guys. Catch you down the track. Much love.
Can I ask you, is there anything else you want to on the moon to hang out with us, to hang out?
Well, yeah, I'm available to do presentations anytime. Name the subject. And yeah, I guess this day's the best one because it's the only one that's free now. I've got Portuguese, Spanish, English shows, none in Italian at the moment. I've done loads and loads of those though, but it's busy. It's really busy, and this is the only day. So, but I might want a weekend off next week because I'm just not coping. It's just too much. I've got a lot on.
Okay, Santos, I'll message you. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Look, I might feel good and not have a lot on, and I'll jump on, okay? Because I love it, and that's what I love doing. But I feel I'm going to need a week off very soon. Thank you, guys. Big hugs.
See ya, Santos. See ya, Santos.
Omnia
Big
Vincit
hugs,
Veritas.
Santos.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Big hugs, love you.
Oh, I don't know why there was a bit of an echo there. It was Santos. It was Santos this time. It wasn't Ceres. We've been going for nearly 3 hours. Do you want to do a little bit more chatting?
I think I have to go too, actually. I was going to say, I'm going to be seeing my kids pretty soon. I got to get ready for that. So I just wanted to say my goodbyes. It was good to see you guys all. And I'm excited about what's to come. So thank you. Good presentation, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm back.
Thank you.
Hugs. Good job on your article.
Oh, good. I did look a bit mad, I'm afraid. But hey, flat Earth's in the national papers. That's the main thing, isn't it? It wasn't about me. It was about flat Earth, so it's there. I'm pleased, but I was a bit like, they said they were going to show me the article first, and then all the pictures, they were like the worst pictures would be possible, but
I know.
lied about what I said. They did print what I said.
Ceres. You did good.
Anyway,
it's Earth.
Flat Earth, isn't it? We're all in this together.
How did that come about, Karen?
We'll do another.
I'll just say goodbye to Levena. Big hugs, Levena. Sorry I didn't get back to give Santos a hug, but I think he was rushing off. But anyway, thank you, Levena.
Okay.
Bye,
Levena. How it happened was that obviously, you know, there's a lot of stuff happening in America at the moment because they've got a Flat Earth a conference happening in November. And I don't know how exactly, but someone spoke to Mark Sargent, and then Mark Sargent, Gary John, who's doing the convention here, and mine over to the Star, came out yesterday. But it was so hard to try and fit everything into this hour and a half I had with them. It's impossible when you've got people sitting here who don't really understand anything, and you're trying to explain it all in an hour and a half. It's taken us months to get through this. So, but anyway, it's kind of done. At least it's national now, you know, Flat Earth, national. But anyway, it was Mark Sargent. So thank you very much to Mark Sargent, who is on tonight, so I'm sure we'll talk about this a bit more tomorrow night. Richard, are you there now? Richard, he's there but not there.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, you've been listening into Aaron. You've been doing your own thing. Is there any bit that you can explain? Because obviously Aaron will be very interested in what you're doing.
Well, at the minute, I've done what like a few people have done and linked the hidden bank accounts to their PayPal accounts. And it's allowed me to send e-checks, which I'm not 100% sure what that means. But yeah, well, I'm waiting until it's 22nd. It says it should be confirmed, but the 27th is what it's saying in my account for all of the e-checks. I sent one to Ceres about a week ago. And yeah, he said 22nd, I think, or 27th. But I sent one a week before, and that still said 27th. So hopefully when it clears, or if it clears, I could just start showing other people how to do it.
Cool. See, so there's someone else doing it as well, Aaron.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be really interested to see how that works, and I'd be willing to also help if you want to like put something together, you know, in relation to what I'm working on, where we really help people to implement whatever that is, you know. Because yeah, we need to make some guides here on how. So I'm going to make some crypto guides here this week or this next week, so that we can, you know, onboard people into start using this and start understanding how it works. But the same is true with the with these accounts that we may have, and then how that works, because that's pretty elusive to me. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, if you're American, it seems to be working a lot better and a lot easier. People have like wired like 50 grand to like trading accounts and paid off like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of debt using their hidden accounts, like paying like child services, support services, or whatever. Yeah, they've paid off thousands and thousands of dollars worth of that. And,
wow.
Yeah. I'll drop the link in the chat if you want. And this is basically the website that I got everything from.
Also, I think you should probably link up with Aaron a little bit, because you never know, you can both help each other, which is what all this is about, is linking us all up.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Is that to go in the chat room then?
Yeah, I'll just put it in Hangout chat. Shall I put it in the YouTube chat as well?
Yeah, I can do it if you like. I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
In the chat for everyone.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, well, you know, like I say, we don't want the drama anymore. People moan and groan and do all these things, and they're saying all that. And Aaron, you know, has come up with an idea as well as Sun and Moon. We want a community. We move on. We've got to move on and together as much as possible. And we are growing. And I mean, you know, this time last year I didn't know Aaron. And now we're here talking about his project. Somehow we've just all got to come together. It's the only way.
And then next year at this time, everyone on the earth will know that it's flat, and we will all be using cryptocurrencies for transactions.
Yay! And then there would have been the US conference, would have been the UK convention, would have been, and Gary's taking it to Amsterdam as well. So there'll have been
eliminating the actual money supply by paying the debt.
Yes. That'll be a year and a week from now.
Oh, we've just got FPV on here. I think FPV wants to say something because he's asked to join the Hangout. FPV?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shout out to the community, Karen. I've been working with Matt Jerome in the background, as you know, and trying to get his videos into a 3D world. I'll put a link to one of the video in the chat there. what we're looking for is people that can help in 3D programs to help get Matt's work into our grid system that like me and Ceres are working with, so we can like overlay it.
Yeah, because I suppose that's the biggest thing is none of us are millionaires, are we? I mean, we're millionaires in us.
Well, Matt hasn't got the skills on the computer to do it, nor the software. But it'd be quick, you know, it'd be handy if someone in the community could jump in and help. They can help out in any way, getting Matt's work into a 3D world.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Aaron's got his project, but in our sort of sun and moon, there's like 4 people who have been there's FPV, then there's Matt, and there's Ceres, and then all their work interlinks, and it's from below ground to above to the firmament, and these people. So that is also amazing, and yeah, all communicating with each other, and yeah. Ceres has been doing more work, haven't you, Ceres, on the electromagnetics of what we live on. So yeah, each one is doing their bit, and I just feel it's just like this is just a great time to bring everybody together. Each one, like Aaron has his part, Dave does his bit, you know, photography, FPV, Ceres, Patricia, the big guy, Santos, Yudit's out every day on the beach taking pictures. You know, you've just got to keep going and keep on. Because
yeah,
we were always flat in the first place, a flat Earth realm.
We on this last Sunday we went. We had a flat Earth meetup in LA, and one of the guys actually just it was a new guy, but he came with these like 4 signs that all said the Earth is flat. Actually, it's this one right there. And we decided, all right, we're going picketing, and we went down to the Santa Monica Pier, and we just started telling all the world that it's flat and motionless, and it was a lot of fun. There were so many people that were filming us, like they would just walk by and they had their cameras out, and you know, we had actually a film crew that was filming us for that, and so we're going to keep on doing that. But that's a big thing, because I think we're gonna really get through to a lot of people in LA. We're gonna wake up a lot of people out here by doing that. So look for us.
I've just given the link out to Artis. He's going to join for a minute. I just want him to just explain that, you know, he's been researching, and this whole thing where, you know, like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, there was still masses of information. Okay, maybe they were promoting the globe and NASA, but there were still people out there saying we were flat. You know, and it's like, why? It's like it's almost as if it is there. You've got to really hunt for it. But like, it's incredible that they've told us it was what, 400 years ago we turned to a globe. We didn't. It's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Here he comes. Artis, we've been going for quite a long time now. But I just would like you to explain a little bit about the newspaper stuff that you found, just a little bit.
Okay, that's cool. I can I've downloaded from our archive site basically a lot of old books that they have scanned in and put in PDF files. Also, I want to say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Artis.
Can pop up if it works. Can you hear me okay? Because last time my sound was terrible.
Yeah, that's why I put music on it, on that little video. Yeah. But it was about 3 o'clock, yesterday morning, wasn't it? We were doing that. We can't do it forever, though, Artis, because we have been on for like...
I know.
Nearly 4 hours.
No worries.
11, but if you could just show a little bit.
Oh, that flat Earth, yeah, that one.
The NASA stuff would be brilliant. Those bits with the NASA in it.
Oh, yeah. They were calculating it from the flat Earth. Even kijken hoor.
It's just incredible. If they already knew we were flat, then why are they lying on top of it? It's just incredible.
I have to. Yeah, you asked me. I had that one other one open, and can I first show you something else before then I have some time to search for that other one?
Yeah, but we can't be too long though, artists.
I know.
We'll have to come back and do a hangout with you about all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Can you see my screen? Possibly you can. This was a magazine from 1976, and those guys were doing a lot of research about the flat Earth. So that's very interesting. I can scroll a bit, and they had a whole magazine basically about the flat Earth. For some reason, this one is going smaller. They scanned it in probably with another code. Yep, here we go. Flat Earth News. This one is from 1977. It tells about the vanishing point. A lot of perspective. So bear in mind this was in 1977. So they do all the research themselves. Here they have some graphics explaining how the sun moves, I think. Here's another one with the perspective of the ships disappearing after the horizon, and that. And now it becomes bigger again. Oh no. They're basically doing some studies how it all works, and it's I think those people I researched it, and then those people who researched it are not alive. That man died, that woman died early, and that man died in 2001. So he almost became 90 years of age. Well, and he basically tells Australia is not down under. So that's always also nice to see. So you can see this was the flat Earth back then. So that is very interesting. And I can quickly show you something else if you like. Close this
What
one.
about the stuff with NASA on it then, to show that NASA knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, they are calculating at first and from one flat plane. So I have to close this one, and maybe I can find it because I didn't have that one ready. So I hope that is. I think it's this one. Let me see the date. I hope this is. I have to check for a moment.
Live research, hey?
Yeah, I have to pop up that site to get the NASA one probably. So just a second.
When you're looking, even a couple of seconds feels a long time when there's a bit of a lull in the just for a lull a bit when you're live.
Yeah. Well, that I have to get that one because on the PDF it's very hard to see actually the text. So it was from 1916. Well, it basically.
Have you found it then, artist?
Yeah, I found it, but then we have to go to the whole text. But we can do that. It's a little bit inconvenient, but let's try if that works. Let's hope that this one is the good one. Screen share. There you go. Okay, can you see my screen again?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Aaron!
I hope this is this one. I have to get it smaller again because otherwise, this is from 1963. And somewhere, because now it's not underlined, so I have to get rid of this. Better. Well, somewhere here in the text, if you want to show it, it's they are talking about the measurements that they first measure from a flat plane. You have to read the whole text now. So. Oh, yeah, flat Earth over here.
There you go, a NASA document saying flat Earth.
The 2-degree freedom computer programs over a flat Earth. So they had their computers programming from a flat Earth, and I think one back they also say flat Earth, but I have to quickly. Well, in this text a couple of times they mentioned the flat Earth. So that's also proves that, and I can also show you there are more flat Earth references in here. You can maybe stop the text and look for yourself. Basically, a couple of times they mention it.
Use Control F and search on flat Earth. Control F is for find.
Control F? Doesn't work.
No search command. If it is text, then you should find text.
Yeah.
I mean, on Sun and Moon, I did make a little video at 3 o'clock yesterday morning with Artist when he found all this stuff. But we can have another hangout about this, Artist.
Well, basically, a couple of times they stated the Earth is flat in this text.
Maybe the looking glass on the left.
Oh, this one. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm not sure. Thanks, Ceres. I'm glad you're always in the hangout because you know more about.
It doesn't quite say flat, Artist. Yeah,
no,
it says flat app.
No. Horrible typing. Okay, that's one.
There you go. So what are they doing?
Maybe if I type flat Earth, because there were more in this document. Hey, flat Earth, flat. So this is just at least a couple of times.
I think you just went past one.
Also, flat, flat. Oh yeah, that's handy. Thanks, Ceres. Oh, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they mentioned it 4 times in this text. Electronic data processing system with a 2-degree of freedom simulation over a flat Earth. So I don't know, but this looks like they are measuring everything. This looks like they are measuring everything from a flat plane, a flat Earth. So, and the absorption reacts computed over this study planner were obtained from a 2-degree of freedom simulation over a flat Earth. Okay. Again, a flat Earth planner program is employed because this study is concerned with the short ranges of relative distance between a short vehicle and a launch vehicle. Whatever. And then you have also other documents. I want to show you another one. If it's, you're now showing, oh, this is already showing. Oh, this is handy. This is the one, say the Earth is round and you will be thrown in prison. in 1900, April the 22nd in 1900, when you talked about the flat Earth and you were teaching it at school. Basically, there was a law still that you could be thrown in prison for that. So they don't have that law for nothing, in my opinion. I have another one. I have to go to the other one. Where is it? Oh no, not this one. The important file. Here's an old flat Earth map. If you can see that. Yeah, it shows again. Oh, that's nice. It works. This is a flat Earth map from, I believe, 1899. With some Bible texts on them. Also, you can find that in that same research site. I will put the site in the description. So everybody can check that site. You can basically research all kinds of old books about any kind of subject. It doesn't matter which one. If you want to investigate about other things, this is also possible. So they had basically... Okay. And I want to show you one more, because we... yeah, this is also one nice one. Back in the day, they already had a book with 100 proofs the Earth is not a globe. I think and that book is not very new. You can see that book works. It's from 18 over here. Now that thing is going in front of it again. 7. Yeah, it's from here. 81. 1885. Huh? 1885. 100 proofs the Earth is not a globe. So that's cool. 5. Yeah. Looks like 1885. Looks like a 1.
It's just showing you that it's not 400 years ago that this was decided we were born.
If I search for it, it says 1885.
Yeah, yeah.
Otis, thank you so much for that. We could go on forever looking at all your research, and we so appreciate everything you've done. But Aaron, we've got to sort of maybe think about like finishing the hangout soon. So maybe we'll just go back to Aaron for a minute. Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you, Otis.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. Interesting.
Yeah, that stuff is very interesting. It's pretty mind blowing to realize that that hasn't been 500 years. It's been, maybe even the turn of the century of the 20th century, or maybe even it's just been it's all been propaganda. It's all been manipulation of the media and the educational indoctrination system, has just convinced us all in recent times that, we've always known this. But no, not the case. It's been a debate. It's been going on for a while.
Forever almost. They count on it that you don't do your research.
Right.
That's what they count on, that you don't go back even 70 years.
Yeah.
And then they can tell you all the lies, because most of the people don't do their research and go in old archive sites of newspapers and so forth. And basically, what you can find there is that certain things, electric cars. I also have a lot of files on electric cars from 1819. Even I have a document, but I don't have it available at the moment. And basically, 1/4 of the United States was driving an electric car in 1922.
Yeah.
And I'm being very careful with 1/4, because it's possibly half, 50%. But just to make sure that I'm right, it's 1/4. But it is a very low estimate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, well, wasn't the Model T electric?
No.
No, it wasn't?
The Model T was from Henry Ford, and that was his first model, and that was basically a gasoline car. But his wife drove an electric car. Basically, one of the first electric cars of the well-known electric cars was the Detroit Electric Car Company, and it still exists. The Detroit Electric Car Company still exists, but it was basically the Detroit Electric Car Company made cars from 1900 till 1935.
Very good. Yeah. So I'll close it out now, and here's a little fun activity for us all to do until the next time. So here's my thought: is what we should do is we should just all start acting as if we've all always known that the Earth was flat and motionless, and we should treat anyone who suggests that it's a spinning ball as though they're crazy, because we all know that the Earth is flat and motionless. We should just act that way, regardless. What do you think?
Why not?
Yes, no pretending. Because what is it? I don't think I know.
That's right. So that about does it for me. I want to thank you again, Karen, for having me on here, and everyone else that's on here.
No, thank you, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, cool poster on the right side of for the viewers on the left side. The Earth is flat. Nice one.
Yeah.
It looks like that one.
This one, yeah.
It looks like a bit like a 70s poster. That type of making a poster. Yeah. With only two colors, black and red. They used them most of the time in the 70s because the color pressers were not that good at the time.
Can I just say that?
Very nice.
Can I just say that Ceres had some of his work up? Ceres, will you put your work up and just give a few minutes of your work, please? Ceres?
Live research.
Ceres has been researching something, so he may as well just show you a little bit of it. Just waiting for Ceres.
That's why it's live research.
Yeah, it always takes a few minutes. Ceres had it already, then he took it down because we were all talking.
Yeah.
Ceres, you're going to have to explain what they're looking at.
This is the magnetical data of 1,000 kilometers thick, and I'm trying to put it. You can see it actually in three-dimensional direction, as in how the colors behave. So you can actually see what the magnetical directions are through the air, and how that works up till 1,000 kilometers high. I glued the sides of the map to it as well to show how the connectivity is through the space loop in east-west direction. Yeah, kind of amazed of how it actually shows up, how the pillars are probably as well working, the negative and the positive, and the mixtures of those, minus plus and plus minus. Yeah, I'm actually trying to make a little movie out of this, out of these particular positions. And here you see the center point of 0.0, where the polarities are switching. Below you have south, upwards you have north. You can see in the in the magnetical data how it is in the north lower and in the south higher. Exactly the same as the elevation data actually shows. And I don't have the elevation with this yet, but with later modeling and showing I will add that as well. yeah, it's I'm barely know what I'm actually look at other than just the direction of magnetic fields and the colors of them. And if you ask me, we can actually pull out a lot of information of how the weather actually functions through these fields. And this is just a static one in just from one moment, and there is, so far I know, from 2015 up till 2019 data available what I can animate. The time animation is only as I need for every time step a complete new mesh to load in Blender. So I figure I can do that way better in my website engine, in where I can just adjust the positions way easier, because I have way more access in Java code than in Python at the moment, as Python is the language for Blender, and I have to learn that part a little bit more. But yeah, I guess we can see the dynamics. This is level 6, and this is level 7, a little bit more detailed. In zoom level, every higher zoom level is just 4 times more data for the same area, and yeah, that builds up till a huge, very sharp image of how everything actually flows. And yeah, I'm still testing out how to actually see more of it, of how the directions go, and if I can actually figure out particular fields, positions, focus points, weird anomalies, etc. Because it's a crust of 1,000 kilometers thick, and yeah, there's a lot to explore between the layers actually.
Because we're one big battery, aren't we, Ceres? We're like a battery.
Well, yeah, one big magnet. And the inertial plane is right where we have the equator. And you can see here at the top that the right is a little bit higher than the left. And exactly between the tropics, you have this particular up and down movement. And between the pillars and the tropics, you have also some area of what is happening. And then from the pillars beyond, it's kind of the same, but I'm not sure. It looks like that we are actually between 2 toroidal fields, that we are kind of pushed between the pillars. Yeah.
Ceres, I sent you in Messenger a few pictures that you've sent and you've put out about what shape we really look, well, what we really look like. I wondered if you showed those as well very quickly. But obviously we'll have to finish this hangout soon, because we have been going a long time, and Aaron did really well there again for what, nearly 3 hours. Showing the electromagnetics, but maybe show people what that's sitting on top of. I sent them to your Messenger.
This is seen from the bottom up. And you see all these lines in there, how the fields are acting on land level, or on sea level actually. So yeah, I think there's a lot to explore in more detail of what the field actually does there. Yeah, and I guess that's probably expand a little part of it, so and then actually download that for that little part the highest detail possible you can handle, to actually look into it, see what's happening there. Kind of smart programming again, not load everything in that sense, not a brute force. But yeah, to select a particular area, that's just a study on its own.
And this is what they're playing with, isn't it? When they do all this, they're using all this to play their games with HARP and all those receding seas and those fake, sort of fakey earthquakes, which, yeah. Well, what they did to the people was real, but how they did it, it's not. None of us believe it's natural, like they say anymore, because we just don't believe them anymore. Yeah, obviously you're going to be doing more research on that, aren't you, Ceres? But in the messenger, I just put a few pictures back in of what the land looks like, because you're showing the electromagnetic side of it. But just very quickly show the people again what the land looks like. Messenger.
The land.
Just that they're there very quickly in your messenger. Because that's sitting sort of on top of that.
Open that.
That was one of the, yeah, next one.
Yes. Oh yeah, from the Hangout.
Yeah, I'll just quickly whip them, Ceres.
Just real quick, put in a group chat the links to the files I showed, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, well, we'll be having another hangout with you, as with Aaron. Yeah, we'll go. You can go through that in more detail on another hangout, artist. And I definitely, obviously, we have to have Aaron back, because this is only the beginning of what we're doing. Well, you all have to come back. You're all part of the family now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ceres, because I know Ceres has been doing his work this week, so he's got a lot more to research. You don't even quite understand it all yet, do you, Ceres?
No, I am just what I understand is how to make the data visible, but what the data itself actually shows us, that's a research. That's what I try to make visible, so that it actually can tell me what it does, what's happening there. You know? In that sense, I don't know what reality is, so let's let reality itself tell what it is, instead of making it up for myself, just to get rid of it or something. I want to know.
Just to explain to everybody, Ceres has come across this data, and it could have meant we were any shape. We could have been a triangle, we could have been whatever. But that's what the data shows. He's managed to get into Google Maps and get that data. So Google Maps know exactly what we're living on.
And this is what I showed is the world magnetic map. And they give it to you in GPS coordinates. And I exactly do the same with the elevation data and translate that back into the photographic dimensions, giving me this view, and see what is happening together with the elevation and how everything works together. And this is the biggest skill, of course, in getting to the details of how that particular pillar works, for example. If there is a particular vortex inwards or something.
Can we just say that they were using Antarctica to create those hurricanes and the earthquakes? They're definitely using the pillars of the place we live in them, but they were using Antarctica. Anyway,
so far I see that through what Chris is describing, between what you can do with mountains and then there's the opposite polarities, you would think that kind of an dielectric pillar system would be very powerful as well as an energy source. And then how you tap into the circuit of the spike.
Yeah, that's one thing we're not short of, is power.
Anyway, what Ceres is talking about again is a different hangout, really. So look at the amount of hangouts we've got to have again. We've got to do one with artists, Aaron, Ceres, FPV, because yeah, you've got some things to show us hopefully soon, FPV. On the hangout now, does anybody else want to say anything? Well,
the only thing I want to say is that do your research. Look in old archives, old newspapers, old books, in your library maybe, and search for old things about flat Earth, because they are lying that there wasn't any flat Earth material around for a long time. It's not true, because there were a lot of researchers doing research about flat Earth. And it was an ongoing thing. Only maybe it stopped from around 2000 till 2005 maybe, but I don't know for sure. But they almost did research all the time. So basically what I tell, do your research, don't believe anything in the news and media on the our vision, because they tell their vision, not our vision. They tell you their vision on the television programming system. They want to program you with their system on the vision, their vision. I can stretch that enough because...
Yeah. Anyway, we're now going Aaron vision.
Yeah.
I'd like to, again, thank you. I mean, yeah, it's all about the vision, right? So we just hold that vision and we stick to it and we don't deviate from it. Mm-hmm. And we're guaranteed success with all this. So I look forward to the next round, and we'll dig in deeper. I'll have some more things to show and tell. And thanks again, Karen.
Okay, Aaron, we're going to be finishing this hangout in a moment, but I just wondered whether you would stay so that you could re-give me all the links so that I can put them on the description of this hangout.
Yeah.
Just hang around for a few minutes at the end of the hangout, because obviously sometimes when we say hang around and we turn the hangout off live and then everybody drops off. But just stay around to give me the links to put on the description.
Okay.
The big guy, Yudit, anything to say before we go? Wait for them to come back.
The more eyes are open, the more we will see, the more we can share, and the more everyone will know, and the more everyone will be empowered.
Yeah, that's a good word, Aaron. Okay then, FPV, you have anything to say?
Yeah, keep up the great work. Keep the teamwork flowing and the communications and progression through unity.
Ooh, thank you. David, thanks for coming on.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, if I get any decent pictures the weekend, I'll post them on Sun and Moon.
Oh, you probably will, unless it's the weather.
Well, I think Saturday and Sunday are okay. Tomorrow's rainy, so I'll post them anyway.
We'll have to have you back to talk about them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think really we're going to end this hangout now. It's been an awesome hangout. Thank you to everybody on here, and thank you so much to Aaron. And finish now with a big flat Earth hug. Anybody coming back for a hug? Hugs. Yay! There you go, Patricia. Hug. Hey, we love you all, and yay! There's Richard. Richard, what happened there? There he is. We'll all be back, and thank you very much for watching. It's an awesome hangout, and it started again, Aaron. It started. Be back to explain more. Anyway, good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
We're back tomorrow with Mark Sargent. time. Bye, everybody.